Chapter 2193. Ugh, you can't say that. Aren't we talking about the terms of the exchange? Upanu said, the deal is a two-way deal. If you don't think it's possible, you can put forward your request. I just stated my bottom line. You tell me your bottom line. Let's combine it. Isn't it fine? Okay. Lenny nodded and said, since you want to exchange so much, I will tell you my bottom line. Jingjing, give me the list. Okay, brother Lenny. Han Jingjing had already listed the refining materials she needed. He took Han Jingjing's list and glanced at it. It was the refining materials for 3 kinds of second-grade medicinal pills, including the small chi gathering pill. He marked a number on the list, then handed it to Yu Panhu and said, the refining materials for 3 kinds of second-grade medicinal pills, 5 of each, plus the medicinal cauldron you mentioned just now. This is my bottom line. Ugh, 5 of each? Isn't that 15 sets of second-grade medicinal pills materials equivalent to 15 second-grade medicinal pills? Yu Panhu was shocked and asked, are you stupid, or don't you know how to calculate? Your family's 15 sets of second-grade medicinal pills materials are equivalent to 15 second-grade medicinal pills? He rolled his eyes. 15 portions of ingredients for a second-level elixir. Can you make 15 second-level elixirs? Yu Panhu thought about it. It was also true. Even if Old Master you made a move, it was impossible to refine 15 second-grade medicinal pills with 15 sets of second-grade medicinal pills materials. It was already very high to have a 1/3 success rate. After all, Old Master you was only a second-grade alchemist, and the success rate was 20 to 30%. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's request was not increased, but lowered a lot. This made Yu Panhu a little puzzled. Are you sure this is your bottom line? Yes. Lin Yi said, you'd better not play any tricks. If I didn't need some second-grade medicinal pills materials for experiments, I would be too lazy to exchange with you. Okay. I'll contact the family and have them send these materials and the cauldron over. After figuring out the value of these second-grade elixir materials, Right Coiling Tiger immediately made a decision. This was something that he could decide. Okay, send me the picture of the cauldron to study first, Lin Yi said. No problem. Right Coiling Tiger readily agreed. After sending a text message to Lin Yi, he said, since the deal has been reached, should I take a look at the alchemist notes first? Do you think I'll show it to you? Lin Yi asked. Let's talk about it after we exchange. Panhu Right also felt that Lin Yi definitely wouldn't let him see it. What if he didn't give him anything after he saw it? Then why are you still sitting here? Boss Bai is here. Do you want to be scolded? Lin Yi asked. I'm leaving now. Right Coiling Tiger thought that Lin Yi was afraid. He was afraid that Boss Bai would know that he had exchanged information privately. Therefore, in Right Coiling Tiger's opinion, if Lin Yi dared to play tricks, then he would go to Boss Bai to report what Lin Yi had done. After Right Coiling Tiger left, Lin Yi turned on his phone and studied the top-grade medicinal cauldron from the ancient times that Right Coiling Tiger mentioned. The medicinal cauldron in the picture did look antique, but it could also be seen from the picture that the medicinal cauldron was very broken. Even though this was the best angle, the person who took the picture had tried his best to choose the most complete side of the medicinal cauldron. However, even so, this medicinal cauldron was still broken. There were dense cracks on it. At first glance, it was obvious that it was an ornamental object that couldn't be used for alchemy. Of course, in the hands of others, it was an ornamental object, but in the hands of Lin Yi, it might not be so. Lin Yi had a remnant scroll on the path of artifact mending. Perhaps he could find a way to repair this top-grade medicinal cauldron from it. Therefore, Lin Yi exchanged it back and studied it. Perhaps he could gain something. Even if he couldn't repair it, the 15 portions of second-grade elixir materials were worth it. Han Jingjing needed second-grade elixir materials to experiment. Right Coiling Tiger happened to be worried about what others were thinking. He was really too considerate. However, this medicinal cauldron gave Lin Yi a somewhat familiar feeling. Lin Yi seemed to have seen this medicinal cauldron somewhere before, but he didn't seem to have much of an impression of it. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi didn't have much of an impression. Instead, Boss Bai came. For the entire morning, Lin Yi calmly spent his time cultivating and listening to lectures. At noon, Lin Yi promised Sun Jingyi that he would look for her. When he left the classroom, he was stopped by Right Coiling Tiger. Lin Yi, wait a minute. Right Coiling Tiger had already told his uncle, Right Jintian, about Lin Yi's conditions in the morning. Right Jintian almost didn't think about it and agreed to Lin Yi's request. In his eyes, the value of 15 portions of second-grade elixir materials was about the same as 5 second-grade elixir materials. Lin Yi's request was not considered a request at all. After Right Jintian prepared these things, he sent a core disciple of the Yu family, Right Tin, to deliver these things to Right Coiling Tiger. Oh, it seems that you have prepared all the things I want. Lin Yi saw the bag in Right Coiling Tiger's hand and asked faintly, Yes, I have prepared the things. Right Coiling Tiger said, It's here. Lin Yi, can we exchange the materials this time? Don't worry. I haven't inspected the goods yet. Lin Yi said unhurriedly, It just so happens that I haven't eaten at noon. You can treat me. Right Coiling Tiger was a little speechless, but who asked him to beg Lin Yi? So he nodded and said, Where do we go to eat? I have no problem treating you, but let's confirm the transaction first. Go to the Shueshang Business Hotel. I will naturally trade with you when we get there, said Lin Yi. Okay. Right Coiling Tiger had no choice but to follow Lin Yi to the parking lot and get in Lin Yi's Grand Cherokee. Along the way, Right Coiling Tiger wanted to speak several times but stopped himself. However, when he saw Lin Yi's calm look, he knew that Lin Yi probably wouldn't care about him even if he said it. It couldn't be helped. Right Coiling Tiger couldn't wait to put the package in his hand on the table when they arrived at the Shueshang Business Hotel. Lin Yi, can we trade now? His only purpose of coming here was to trade with Lin Yi. As for eating at the same table with Lin Yi, he didn't have that kind of leisure. Wait, I haven't ordered yet. Lin Yi waved his hand, called the waiter, and brought the menu. It was a special meal. Right Coiling Tiger was a little speechless, but he still waited patiently for Lin Yi to finish ordering. Then he said, Is it okay now? Chapter 2194. Right Coiling Tiger took out a credit card helplessly and handed it to the waiter. Pay the bill first. I'll swipe my card. Okay, sir. The waiter took the POS machine and swiped the card for Right Coiling Tiger. Then he went out to prepare the dishes. Lin Yi, are you done? If you don't want to exchange, just say it. You don't have to find so many excuses. Right Coiling Tiger was really impatient. If you regret it, just say it. Oh, you really guessed it. I did regret it. Lin Yi nodded and said, I don't. Right Coiling Tiger almost jumped. What do you want? Why did you regret it? Actually, I regret it because of you, said Lin Yi. Because of me? What do you mean? Asked Right Coiling Tiger. Last time, I exchanged information with you, and then you took it to heart. You kept saying that I cheated you. So I was thinking, after exchanging with you this time, would you do the same? Lin Yi said with a straight face. So after a whole morning of serious consideration, I've decided not to trade with you. Fuck, are you playing with me? Right Coiling Tiger was so depressed that he almost lost his temper. But he suddenly remembered that the person in front of him was Lin Yi. He was not allowed to lose his temper. If he lost his temper and got beaten up, he wouldn't be able to find a place to reason. He could only swallow his anger and say, A man can't go back on his words. You still don't understand? I'm thinking for you. I'm afraid that you will regret it when the time comes. Then you will become a eunuch, said Lin Yi. I'll become a eunuch? How did I become a eunuch? Right Coiling Tiger was stunned. Didn't you say that a man can't go back on his words? I'm afraid that when the time comes, you won't be a man. Lin Yi explained. All right, Lin Yi, don't say these useless things. You don't have to think about me. I'm willing to exchange information with you. I won't go back on my word. Don't worry. Right Coiling Tiger said, Is that okay now? Well, since you're so sincere, I'll trade with you. Lin Yi nodded and said, Open the package. I want to inspect the goods. If I let you inspect the goods, you should also let me inspect the goods, right? Right Coiling Tiger had an idea and said, Lin Yi rolled his eyes. Right Coiling Tiger, are you trying to challenge our intelligence? I've already shown you my information. What value does it have? You won't lose anything even if I see your things. All right, take a look then. Right Coiling Tiger didn't waste any more words. He opened the package and presented the item to Lin Yi. He just wanted to end this deal as soon as possible. He opened the package, and an antique cauldron appeared in front of Lin E. However, after seeing the real thing, Lin E realized that this cauldron was even more broken than he'd imagined. The picture on the right side of the cauldron was only the front of the cauldron. Even though the front of the cauldron was densely covered with cracks, the back of the cauldron was a huge crack from top to bottom. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was too horrible to look at. This thing was real. With Lin Yi's eyes, he could tell that it was an antique. When he went with Ling Shan to rob the tomb, Lin Yi had learned a lot about antiques. However, from the looks of it, this thing couldn't be used to make pills. It was leaking all over the place, and it couldn't even be used to brew medicine. This thing is more broken than I imagined. Lin Yi sighed. Lin Yi, don't say that. If it was something good, would I trade with you? It's this kind of useless stuff that our hidden house you would trade with. Right, Coiling Tiger said. You've already agreed. Don't go back on your word. I didn't go back on my word. Look at how scared you are. Lin Yi put down the cauldron and said faintly. He began to check the materials for the level 2 pills. Oomph. Right, Coiling Tiger snorted and ignored Lin Yi. He quietly waited for Lin Yi's inspection results. Not bad. It's not bad. With that, Lin Yi tied the package and put it beside him. He then threw a document to Right Coiling Tiger. This is what you need. When Right Coiling Tiger saw that Lin Yi was finally willing to let go, he was overjoyed. He took the document and looked at it carefully. Right Coiling Tiger was an alchemist. Although his rank was relatively low, he was only a level 1 alchemist. However, he had seen and heard since he was a child. He knew a lot about alchemy. Although he hadn't dabbled in those advanced alchemy techniques, he could still distinguish the quality of the information at a glance. Just looking at one page, Right Coiling Tiger's face became dignified. This information was indeed good stuff. This time, Lin Yi didn't lie to him. Fortunately, Right Coiling Tiger also breathed a sigh of relief. When he looked at the back, he nodded even more. Some of the views and techniques described in this information. Right Coiling Tiger also heard Old Master Yu mention some of them when he taught the younger generation, so this information should be true without a doubt. It was impossible for Lin Yi to fool him. After looking at a few more pages, the things inside made Right Coiling Tiger feel refreshed. Before, Old Master Yu only talked about some basic experiences of alchemy, and the later records were some of the experiences and essentials of a level 1 alchemist. Right Coiling Tiger was amazed. Many things that he couldn't figure out, and he didn't have time to ask Old Master Yu about, could be explained and answered here. Seeing this, Right Coiling Tiger no longer had any doubts. He nodded heavily and said, Lin Yi, this time you are quite honest. You didn't deceive me with simple things. Oh, you got the thing. You could get out now. Go make a copy and return the original version directly to Han Jingjing. Lin Yi was secretly surprised. Didn't Boss Bai say that this was the alchemist's notes of the Heavenly Elixir sect? It stands to reason that the Right family should have it hidden. Why does Right Coiling Tiger look like he got a treasure? Get out? Aren't you going to eat? After Right Coiling Tiger got the good stuff, his appetite was very good. He was really a little hungry. I won't eat with you. I called you here to pay the bill. Lin Yi said, Of course you can stay here. After I eat, I may need to exercise. I lack a sandbag. Are you willing to be my sandbag? Chapter 2195. After Right Coiling Tiger left, Lin Yi leisurely picked up his phone and dialed Sun Jingyi's number. As for Right Coiling Tiger's reaction after getting the alchemist's notes, although Lin Yi was confused, he wasn't too worried. Boss Bai wouldn't lie to him, and he also said that he would cooperate with him to act, which meant that the information wasn't the most important to Boss Bai. Lin Yi was already satisfied to be able to exchange the information for the things he had gotten so far. Although the materials for second-grade pills could be obtained through Boss Bai, if Lin Yi asked for it, Boss Bai would definitely get to the bottom of it, and then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to hide the fact that Han Jingjing was an alchemist. Lin Yi didn't want to lie to Boss Bai, but he also didn't want to expose Han Jingjing too early, so Lin Yi could only start with Right Coiling Tiger. At the very least, even if Right Coiling Tiger was confused, he knew that even if he asked, Lin Yi wouldn't tell him, so he might as well not ask in case he asked for trouble. Sun Jingyi didn't expect Lin to actually order a banquet in the private room downstairs, so she quickly dressed up and went downstairs. At this time, the waiter had basically served all the dishes, and Sun Jingyi could eat when she arrived. No way. Great thief. Even if you're good to me, you don't have to order so many dishes. How can the two of us eat it all? Sun Jingyi looked at the dishes on the table and was very happy. Someone's treating. It'll be a waste not to eat, Lin Yi said. Someone's treating again this time? Sun Jingyi was a little surprised. Where's the person? Scram, Lin Yi said. Sun Jingyi was dazed. Scram? What do you mean? It means scram, Lin Yi said. After paying the bill, it's none of his business. Gosh. Sun Jingyi was a little speechless. There's actually such a kind person? Yeah, this idiot always gives me good stuff. Lin Yi smiled and said, let's not study him anymore. Let's eat first. And Sun Jingyi nodded, picked up the chopsticks, and put a small bite of food into her mouth. Recently, Sun Jingyi was less mature than the previous company owner, and more lazy and charming. Although she was at most 1 year older than Lin Yi. Maybe because of her experience in society, she was more mature than Shu and the others. You said you'll accompany me to explore the map my parents left me, right? Of course. Lin Yi nodded without hesitation. His relationship with Sun Jingyi was very good. Putting aside the previous identity of half a lover, just the fact that Sun Jingyi gave the jade pendant left by her parents to Lin Yi as material was enough to move Lin Yi. Hee. It seems that you still have a little awareness of being a lover. You won't let me take the risk alone. Sun Jingyi listened to Lin Yi's affirmative answer and smiled happily. Awareness of what? I only have a title as a lover. There are no practical benefits at all. Lin Yi smiled and said, to put it bluntly, isn't it just free labor? That's not necessarily the case. Now, it's a trial period for you. When I'm happy, I might let you be my lover. Sun Jingyi said, I'm not engaged now. My family won't interfere with what I do. As she said this, Sun Jingyi blinked at Lin Yi. Are you seducing me? Lin Yi looked at the current Sun Jingyi. It was difficult to put her with the image of the female white-collar worker. The current Sun Jingyi was much cuter. I guess so. How about it? Do you accept the seduction? Asked Sun Jingyi. Accept it. Lin Yi nodded and said. After that, both of them laughed. The dialogue style of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi could only be understood by the two parties involved. They also knew that it was just a joke. Right, I found the specific location of the Wulonghao mountain range. It is located outside the southern border. The environment there is very complicated. I heard that it is very dangerous. After Sun Jingyi joked, she said seriously, there were several expeditions on the internet that went to the Wulonghao mountain range to explore. Most of the people were wiped out. Only a few people survived. However, according to the survivors, it is very dangerous. Not only is there a natural moat, but there are also some monsters. Moreover, the local customs are very tough. In short, the survivors were scared and said that they would never go there to explore again in their lives. Oh, according to what you said, it seems to be full of danger? Lin Yi listened to Sun Jingyi's explanation and was a little surprised. If this is the case, why did your parents leave this map to you? I don't know. Maybe the more dangerous the place, the safer it is? If there are some things hidden there, it is not easy to be found? Sun Jingyi said. This is the only reason I can think of. After all, this is the truth. After those expeditions had an accident, no other expeditions went to that mountain range. Over time, it became a forbidden place for explorers. Perhaps that's the only explanation. Lin Yi nodded after listening to it. How is it? Are you afraid? Asked Sun Jingyi. I'm not afraid. The key is you. Lin Yi was a little speechless. Even if it was a moat with dangerous monsters, it was nothing compared to the tomb robbing and the ice palace trial. No matter how dangerous the moat was, could it be more terrifying than the secret passage in the ancient tomb? No matter how powerful the monster was, could it be more powerful than the purple electric beast? Didn't Lin Yi solve all of these? I'm really a little scared. Sun Jingyi didn't hide it. If you didn't promise to accompany me, I can't imagine not making up my mind to explore it. After all, I'm not a practitioner like you. My things are a little special. If it's just the moat and monsters, then don't worry. It's not a problem. I can handle it, Lenny said. That's good. I was thinking the same thing. You're in Earth class now, and those people in the expedition team are just normal people. There's no way we can compare them. Jingy said, hopefully, we'll be able to find our destination without a hitch. When do we leave? Lenny asked. I can leave anytime. Son, Jingy said, I don't have anything to do with the company now. All I do every day is look up information in the hotel. There's nothing else to do. Now that I have the information, we can leave immediately. All right, I'll go back and make some arrangements. Lenny said, I need to make arrangements for Meng Yao and Yushu's safety. Chapter 2196. They wouldn't dare to do anything to him, but he wasn't afraid that they would send people after Meng Yao and Yushu. Han Xiaopa said that the Sky-class masters of the hidden houses were restricted by the ancient rules and couldn't enter the common world easily. So, Lenny wasn't worried at all. With the purple thunderbolt beast protecting Meng Yao and Yushu, there shouldn't be any problems. Even if a Sky-class master came, the purple thunderbolt beast would be able to deal with them. Sky-class masters wouldn't come. Those Sky-class masters weren't idiots. Taking such a huge risk to enter the common world and not go after Lin Yi, but Meng Yao and Yushu? Weren't they crazy? Even if they killed Meng Yao and Yushu, the hatred in their hearts wouldn't lessen. Right, Wu Qintian contacted me last night. He wanted to call you, but he couldn't get through, so he called me instead. Sun Jingyi said. He said he can come to Donghai anytime, and asked if you need his help. Last night, Lenny thought about it. It was probably because he was in the cinema last night, and the signal wasn't good, so Chuntian couldn't get through. Coincidentally, Lin Yi was looking for him, and there was a qi gathering pill that Lin Yi wanted to give to Chuntian. Among the people around Lin Yi, Chuntian was the only one who had the time to protect Meng Yao and Yushu at all times. Plus, he had been a bodyguard before, so it was a walk in the park for him. Plus, using this qi gathering pill on Chuntian was the most worth it right now. Chuntian was a practitioner of both spiritual and physical arts, and he was stronger than normal spiritual and physical practitioners. Giving him a boost was also the most beneficial thing. Yeah, what? You don't think he's still interested in me, do you? Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi's expression and misunderstood. Of course not. Lin Yi smiled. He's going to be in Earth class soon, so he probably won't be interested in you anymore. Lin Yi, do you want to die? So you're saying that you have very low standards? Jingyi was pissed. I'm just kidding. I was wondering why I couldn't get through to you yesterday. Lin Yi said, I went to the cinema yesterday. The signal there was bad. Cinema? A date? Jingyi asked. It's not really a date. Lin Yi evidently didn't want to talk about this topic. I'll call Wu Qintian. Okay. Sun Jingyi was very smart. Since Lin Yi didn't want to talk about it, she didn't ask anymore. Just as Sun Jingyi said, Qintian was ready and waiting for orders, ready to come as soon as Lin Yi called. And so, Lin Yi made an appointment with Qintian, telling him to come over right now and meet him at the villa in the Shueshang district. After settling the matter of leaving with Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi took the cauldron and the ingredients for the second-level elixir back to school. And now, Lin Yi was thinking whether or not to level up the purple thunderbolt beast. The situation was clear. The reason why the purple thunderbolt beast followed him was because he could bring it benefits. In other words, it was a deal. Its situation was different from General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig. General Weiwu was originally an animal that accompanied Miss through life and death. It was willing to sacrifice itself to save Mississippi. This relationship was enough to prove its loyalty. So, Lin Yi didn't hesitate to help it level up. Skybolt Pig, on the other hand, was Zhang Liju's spirit beast. Lin Yi inherited Zhang Liju's legacy, so Skybolt Pig had no choice but to follow Lin Yi. It could either stay in the tomb or follow Zhang Liju's disciple. But the purple thunderbolt beast was the spirit beast of the Qinshan sect. It turned to Lin Yi halfway through, so it was hard for Lin Yi to guarantee its loyalty. If it just left after leveling up, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to defeat it and wouldn't be able to do anything to it. It seemed like he had to think about this carefully. When he went back at night, he had to communicate with the purple thunderbolt beast. When he returned to the classroom, Lin Yi saw Yu Ponhu sitting in the classroom with a smile on his face. He was talking to Yellow and Purple. When he saw Lin Yi walk in, he smiled at Lin Yi for the first time. He had already asked Yu Sure to send the copied information back to the hidden house Yu, and he kept an extra copy for himself. After this information was sent back, he probably wouldn't be able to see it anymore. The hidden house Yu's library wasn't something an elixir refiner of his level could casually read. So, Yu Ponhu kept a copy for himself. This was also in preparation for him to enter the hidden house Yu's elder council smoothly in the future. Lin Yi looked at Yu Ponhu's expression and was even more confused. Could it be that the hidden house Yu really didn't have this information? Otherwise, why would Yu Ponhu be so happy? But even if that was the case, Lin Yi didn't have any regrets. Yu Ponhu's sacrifice in exchange for a copy of the information was worth it. Lin Yi returned to his seat. Han Jingjing was still writing and drawing on the tablet. When she saw Lin Yi, she said happily, "Lin Yi bro, I got a lot of inspiration from this information. Now, I have more confidence in making second-level elixirs." "Really? That's great." Lin Yi was a little numb to Han Jingjing's genius. He handed all the materials that Yu Ponhu gave him to Han Jingjing and said, "The materials are here. There are a total of 15 sets. Take a look." And that's great. This time, Jingjing can try to refine second-level elixirs. Han Jingjing took the materials from Lin Yi's hand and said, "Brother Lin Yi, you are so good to Jingjing. You always help Jingjing get what she wants. When you become an elixir refiner and help me refine elixirs, I will thank you then," said Lin Yi. Okay. When Jingjing learns it, I will refine elixirs for Brother Lin Yi alone." Han Jingjing nodded and said. Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing's innocent little face. Sometimes he was really confused. Was this genius girl really sent by God? But when he couldn't solve the problem of alchemy, Han Jingjing appeared. From the perspective of traditional alchemy, Han Jingjing wasn't considered a genius. She had a single fire attribute physique. It could be said that she was trash among the elixir refiners. But when it came to Han Jingjing, this single fire attribute had become her advantage. Although she didn't have the wood attribute to sense the changes in the medicinal herbs in the cauldron, Han Jingjing could use a more scientific and accurate curve function to replace it. This was like the difference between a handicraft workshop and an assembly line. Chapter 2197. However, the craftsmanship of the workers on the assembly line might be much worse than that of the shoemaker. But as long as they knew how to control the assembly line machines and produce shoes according to the prescribed steps, the shoes produced would be exactly the same in terms of quality and specifications. This was the advantage brought by the assembly line. Han Jingjing's current method of alchemy was completely the same as the assembly line of a factory. The pills produced were the same in terms of quality and specifications. And because of the mass production, it was even more time-saving and resource-saving than a manual workshop. "Right, you coiling tiger returned the information to me," Han Jingjing said as she passed the information to Lin Yi. "And I'll find time to return it to boss by later." Lin Yi nodded. "Right, I'm planning to leave for a while in a few days. During this time, you should stay at home and practice alchemy. Go to school with Meng Yao and Yushu every day. And Lin Yi Gij, Jingjing will take care of myself." Han Jingjing didn't ask much about Lin Yi's whereabouts. Also, the fact that you know how to make pills, especially the fact that you can make multiple pills in one cauldron, don't ever mention it to anyone, not even Boss Bai. Lin Yi reminded, especially Yu Ponhu, don't tell him. One must always be on guard. Although Lin Yi trusted Boss Bai, who could guarantee that Han Jingjing wouldn't be eavesdropped when she spoke. If this matter was spread out, it wouldn't be a good thing for Han Jingjing no matter what. And Jingjing won't say anything. Jingjing will listen to Lin Yi Gij. Han Jingjing agreed without thinking. Jingjing. Lin Yi wanted to ask Han Jingjing if she liked alchemy since birth. Why was she so close to him? But this question circled around in Lin Yi's mind. He shook his head and decided not to ask. In any case, Han Jingjing shouldn't have any malicious intent towards him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have told him all her secrets. It should be known that with Han Jingjing's current state of alchemy, Even the Heavenly Elixir sect would treat her like an honored guest. However, Han Jingjing didn't hide anything from him. And Han Jingjing raised her head, her big, watery eyes looking at Lin Yi, confused. It's fine. Lin Yi shook his head and returned to his senses. Xin Yan hadn't returned from her lunch break yet. Bai Weiduo and Zhao Shengji weren't there either, probably having lunch with Imei. As expected, Bai Weiduo, Zhao Shengji, and Wang Xinyan walked into the classroom together. Wang Xinyan was usually a lone wolf, but she couldn't reject Bai Weiduo's invitation today, probably because of what happened last night. Bai Weiduo insisted on dragging me to lunch. I had no choice. I had no other choice. Xinyan said helplessly, shaking her head. They think you're my girlfriend. Lin Yi said. Oh, Xinyan replied and didn't say anything else. She sat back in her seat. Right. I'll be going out for a couple of days. I'll be gone for half a month at most. Lin Yi needed to tell Xinyan that he was going out. After all, the two of them had gotten closer, and Xinyan was very concerned when Lin Yi left last time. Going out again? Xinyan's heart tightened. She didn't want to believe, but she didn't know what it was exactly. I need to help a friend. We'll go somewhere together. Lin Yi said. Be careful. I'll take notes for you. Xinyan didn't want him to leave, but she didn't ask him to stay. She knew that Lin Yi wouldn't stay even if she did. Thanks. Lin Yi smiled. Xinyan nodded and started flipping through her book. Sometimes, Lin Yi felt that his relationship with Xinyan was special. Sometimes it felt like they were really close, but most of the time, it was the kind of friendship between gentlemen that was as thin as water. It was very calm, but very warm. It was as if the two of them were supposed to be like this, sitting together and studying every day. The afternoon passed quickly. Xinyan looked at Lin Yi and asked faintly, Today, another night study session? Lin Yi understood what Xinyan meant. She wanted to create an environment for him. Not today. I'll be leaving tomorrow. I have something to do tonight. Lin Yi said. Oh, Xinyan didn't know why, but she was a little disappointed. Okay. Plus, there are a lot of people in the classroom. I can't carry you. Lin Yi teased. You're annoying. Xinyan pursed her lips and blushed. I'll be leaving first. Have a safe trip. Haha, okay. Lin Yi said. Xinyan hugged her book and ran out of the classroom. She didn't dare look back. Her heart was beating fast as she thought about what Lin Yi said. Was Lin Yi flirting with her? This bastard. She was already nice enough to let him go, and he still wanted more? But thinking that Lin Yi was leaving soon, Xinyan didn't want to argue with him. Her relationship with him gave her a headache. He had even accepted one of his cars yesterday. If his family knew about this, who knew what they would think? Big brother Lin Yi, do you like Sister Xinyan? Han Jingjing put away her tablet and walked out of the classroom with Lin. A little. Lin Yi didn't deny it. Oh, then do you want to go after Sister Xinyan? Han Jingjing nodded. Lin Yi looked into Han Jingjing's eyes. He didn't see any impurities or dissatisfaction. It was still very clear. This made Lin Yi feel that Han Jingjing didn't have any bad feelings for Xinyan. Why are you asking? Lin Yi was curious. I'm afraid that you won't like me after you have Sister Xinyan. You won't have time to be with me anymore. Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi worriedly. Of course not. I still need you to make pills for me. Lin Yi said. Just concocting pills. Han Jingjing suddenly felt a little down. What if one day Lin Yi bro becomes even better than Jing Jing at concocting pills? Do I still need Jing Jing? Lin Yi paused. So Han Jingjing had known all along that he didn't know how to concoct elixirs, and only told him the truth today. So this girl was just flattering him before. This made Lin Yi a little ashamed. Let's not talk about whether I know how to concoct elixirs or not. Even if I did, I'm not as smart as Jing Jing to invent a scientific concoction method. Chapter 2198. Every recipe has a different refinement curve. How can I learn them all? Lin Yi smiled. Plus, even if you learn it all, we'll still need to study weaponsmithing. And you can keep studying scientific weaponsmithing. To me, Jing Jing is a treasure, and I won't even give her to anyone else. Why are you worrying so much in that little head of yours? Could it be that you're jealous? Han Jingjing paused. What do you mean by jealous? Lin Yi didn't explain. He was sure that Han Jingjing knew, but he pretended that she didn't know. Perhaps Yushu was right. Han Jingjing was a smart person. After all, how could she not know some common sense? Then it's settled, Lenny bro. You have to treat Jingjing like a treasure from now on. Don't throw her away, Han Jingjing said. All right, it's a deal, Lenny said. Perhaps Lin Yi and Xinyan's conversation had triggered Han Jingjing. Her attitude was a little off today, but the two arrived at the parking lot, and Han Jingjing was back to her normal self. That cute, silly look on her face as she got into the car and started fiddling with her tablet without a word. When they got home, Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yushu about going to Wulanhate with Sun Jingyi, as well as about Qintian coming to protect them. Actually, theoretically speaking, you guys shouldn't be in any danger during this time. I'm only letting Qintian come to watch out for some idiots, Lin Yi said. The hidden houses couldn't do anything rash at the moment. Shield bro, you're leaving again. Yushu was a little sad. Why don't you bring Shu and Yao Yao with you? Wulanhate is a little dangerous. I'm afraid I won't be able to take care of you guys, Lin Yi said honestly. Protecting Sun Jingyi alone is a little hard, I see. Shu sighed. I won't be able to see Shield bro for a while. In the future. At this point, Xiao Shu didn't continue. She couldn't understand what she was talking about. I'll be back soon. I'll bring you something good, Lin Yi said. That's enough, Shu. Lin Yi's going to take care of business. It's not like he won't come back. Meng Yao felt that Yushu was a little down today, as if they'd never see each other again after Lin Yi left. Didn't Lin Yi say that he'll be living with us from now on? Yeah, but... Yushu shook her head. It's nothing. It's time for the cartoon. Let's watch TV. Shu, what's wrong? Lin Yi also felt that something was wrong with Shu. Nothing. Chill bro, Yushu smiled. I just don't want you to get involved with Sun Jingyi. Look, you already have Wang Xinyan and Han Jingjing as a backup. It'll be a mess if you get involved with Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi saw that Yushu wasn't willing to talk about it. He stood up. I'll go check on General Wei Wu, the pig, and the Purple Thunderbolt Beast. The Purple Thunderbolt Beast, as the lowest level spirit beast here, naturally lived at the outermost area of the spirit beast shed. Fortunately, it had thick skin and thick flesh. It was almost December, and the temperature in Donghai was quite cold, but the Purple Thunderbolt Beast wouldn't be a problem. Purple Thunderbolt Beast. Lin Yi called out to the spirit beast shed. The Purple Thunderbolt Beast heard Lin Yi's call and ran out happily. These 2 days, it couldn't wait for Lin Yi to help it level up. The Purple Thunderbolt Beast knew that it wouldn't be possible for Lin Yi to help it level up in just 2 days. Besides, it had heard about Lin Yi's situation from General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig. Lin Yi could indeed help Spirit Beast level up, and as Lin Yi's level increased, Lin Yi could level up the Spirit Beast step by step. For example, when Lin Yi was a Mystic Class Master, he could level up General Wei Wu, who was a normal dog, to the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class, and Skybolt Pig to the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class. After Lin Yi became an Earth Class Master, they naturally became Mystic Class Late Phase Peak as well. This situation made the Purple Thunderbolt Beast surprised and overjoyed. If this continued, it wouldn't be a dream for it to become Mystic Class, Earth Class, or even Sky Class. But for it to level up from the Golden Class to the Sky Class by itself, that would be extremely difficult. Not to mention the Sky Class, even if it advanced a little from the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class to the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class, it wouldn't be possible. At first, the Purple Thunderbolt Beast and Lin Yi came here with the purpose of taking advantage of the Spirit Beast, but now it had a completely different idea. When it heard Lin Yi's call, it naturally ran out happily. Roar, roar. The Purple Thunderbolt Beast ran to Lin Yi's feet. It was hard to imagine that such a huge spirit beast would be fawning over Lin Yi like a pet. Purple Thunderbolt Beast, although I really want to level you up, I can't guarantee your loyalty to me. Lin Yi knew that the Purple Thunderbolt Beast could understand it, so he didn't beat around the bush and said directly, You, General Wei Wu, and Skybolt Pig are different. They have a good relationship with me, and we've experienced many things together, so I leveled them up. But we've only known each other for a short time. Roar. The Purple Thunderbolt Beast looked at Lin Yi with a bitter face. How could it not know that Lin E didn't trust it? But in this situation, how could it prove its loyalty to Lin E? You should know that I have a lion with me before, but I didn't level it up because it didn't want to be under anyone. If I level it up, it might just leave. Lin E said. The purple lightning beast nodded. It knew that Lin E was telling the truth. It had heard about the lion, so it looked at Skybolt Pig and General Weiwu with a pitiful look, hoping that they could help it plead for mercy. You don't need to look at them. If you can prove your loyalty, it's not impossible for me to turn you into a spirit beast with the strength of the late phase of the mystic class. Lin E said, you will be like them very soon, but if you can't prove it, I can't believe you. Chapter 2199. The purple lightning beast's body trembled, and although Lin E didn't understand its expression, it was definitely hesitant and troubled, unable to make a decision. Woof, woof, woof. General Weiwu barked twice, as if it was trying to tell the purple electric beast something. The purple electric beast didn't say anything else and fell into silence. It laid down by Lin Yi's feet alone, as if it was thinking about something. General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig didn't say anything else and waited quietly for the purple electric beast's answer. Although Lin Yi was confused, he could guess that Skybolt Pig and General Weiwu had already thought of a way to suppress the purple electric beast. However, the purple electric beast couldn't accept this method, so it was hesitating and making a decision. Roar! Finally, the purple lightning beast lifted its proud head and roared at the sky. Then it turned around to look at Skybolt Pig and General Weiwu and nodded its head slowly. However, after nodding its head, it roared a few more times as if it was trying to add something to the beast's mind. General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig looked at each other, and Skybolt Pig chirped a few times as if he was explaining something to the purple lightning beast. After a while, the purple lightning beast nodded again, and Skybolt Pig ran in front of Lin E, using his claw to point at a patch of soft sand not far away. Lin E knew that Skybolt Pig was going to write to communicate with him, so he followed him to the patch of soft sand. Skybolt Pig quickly rode on the soft sand. Since ancient times, there have been 3 ways for humans and spiritual beasts to get along. The first way is to share the same thoughts, share the joys and sorrows, and form a natural friendship, just like me and General Weiwu. The second method is to establish a contract and have the spiritual beast become a human slave. The human can order the spiritual beast to do anything, and after the spiritual beast has established the contract, it can't resist and can only follow orders. To put it bluntly, it is equivalent to a puppet with thoughts. The third way is to establish an equal contract. This is similar to the first way, mutual respect. The spiritual beast is the human's best friend and not just a slave. As long as the spiritual beast doesn't betray its master, it has its own consciousness. The Qian Mountain sect established a contract with this method, and it's the best way to establish a contract. The purple electric beast said that it can accept being your contracted spiritual beast, but it must be this type because it's too pitiful to become a slave. Oh, this will do. Lin E nodded. Actually, you and General Weiwu are similar to these contracted spiritual beasts. It's just that we're in the same boat, and the purple lightning beast time is too short. This is the only way to prove its loyalty. The purple lightning beast didn't expect Lin E to agree so easily. It was a little surprised. Originally, it thought that Lin E would definitely take the opportunity to blackmail it into becoming a slave contracted spiritual beast, but it was very unwilling to do so. Although it wanted to level up, what was the point if it lost its sense of self after leveling up? It chose the last option because it had the thought of leaving if Lin E didn't agree. That was why it roared at the sky and made its decision. How would it know that Lin E was so easy to talk to? If it knew this would happen, it would have established a contract with Lin E a long time ago. This type of contract didn't affect it at all. When Lin E was around, it would follow Lin E. If Lin E died, it would regain its freedom and wouldn't be affected. It had lived for thousands of years and met many people, but it was the first time it met someone like Lin E. That was why it didn't lose anything by following Lin E. As long as Lin E continued to level up, its strength would also increase. Where else could it find such a good contracted master? So when it heard Lin Yi's agreement, the purple electric beast nodded happily. Roar, roar. It was even a little eager. How do I establish the contract? Lin Yi asked. Skybolt Pig rode on the ground again. You don't have to do anything. The purple electric beast will make a heaven and earth oath, then drip a drop of blood on its forehead. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Although Lin Yi didn't know what a heaven and earth oath was, he didn't know if it had any binding force. However, looking at Skybolt Pig's expression, it was probably very effective. So, he bit his finger. At this moment, the purple electric beast was also muttering something that Lin Yi couldn't understand. It seemed like this type of contract was built on the basis of equality. Only when the spirit beast was willing could it be used. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly force the spirit beast to make a heaven and earth oath, right? As for that kind of slave contract, although Lin Yi didn't know how to operate it, it should be the forceful kind. He would have to ask Skybolt Pig when he had the chance. It was impossible for Lin Yi to use such a gentle method to deal with every spirit beast he encountered. After a while, the purple electric beast stopped roaring, but Skybolt Pig started squeaking, indicating that Lin Yi could drip his blood. So, Lin Yi quickly dripped the blood on his finger on the purple electric beast's forehead. What surprised Lin was that the blood on his finger seemed to turn into a light beam and directly entered the purple electric beast's body. There was no trace of blood on its forehead. This situation made Lin Yi click his tongue in wonder. It seemed like there were many things in the world that he didn't know or understand. That's it. Lin Yi didn't feel that there was anything special about establishing a contract with the purple electric beast. Squeak, squeak. Skybolt Pig nodded, indicating that it was fine. All right, phone. I'll raise your strength to the peak of the late phase mystic class later. You stay in the villa and protect Meng Yao and Yushu with General Wei Wu. Understand? While I'm not here, don't let any harm come to them. Lin Yi said, also, you have to protect Han Jingjing and her brother next door. Roar, roar. The purple electric beast nodded, indicating that it understood. Since Skybolt Pig said that there was no problem, Lin Yi didn't doubt it. He directly sat cross-legged on the ground and placed his hand on the purple electric beast's body, activating the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Pure energy flowed from the space in the jade through Lin Yi's body into the purple electric beast's body. Roar, dash. The purple electric beast roared in pleasure and then quickly absorbed the energy that Lin Yi transferred over. Chapter 2200. At this moment, the purple lightning beast was quite gratified. Following Lin Yi was a wise choice. Lin Yi didn't lie to it. It leveled up in just a short while. It had never heard of such a situation before. It had never heard of a person being able to continuously transfer chi to a spirit beast in such a short period of time. It was unbelievable, but the truth was right in front of its eyes. Golden class late phase peak. Soon, it was close to full cycle. The purple lightning beast let out a joyful roar. It leveled up. The barrier that had suppressed it for the past 1,000 years had actually been broken at this moment. Mystic class early phase, it was already a mystic class spirit beast. And this was just the beginning. Lin Yi didn't stop and continue to transfer chi to it. Mystic class early phase peak, mid phase peak, all the way to mystic class late phase peak. The purple lightning beast couldn't believe what was happening in front of it. It even felt like it was dreaming. Was there such a way to level up in this world? It had never heard of anyone being able to go from golden class late phase peak all the way to mystic class late phase in such a short period of time. No, it was already mystic class late phase peak. Lin Yi's energy transfer stopped abruptly. Lin Yi let go of his hand, but he didn't seem tired at all. He was still in high spirits, as if the chi transfer didn't affect Lin Yi at all. The purple lightning beast's eyes widened in shock as it stared at Lin Yi, who was perfectly fine. Is this real? I'm a mystic class late phase peak spirit beast now? From now on, you're number 4. Little 3 is the lion, but it ran away. Lin Yi said to the purple lightning beast. Your boss is General Wei Wu, and Skybolt Pig is your second Shi Xiao. You don't have to care about that lion for now. You're the youngest. Roar, roar. The purple electric wind thunder beast nodded cheerfully. Although it was a spirit beast with an offensive attribute and was the most powerful one compared to General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig, it knew that it was the last one to arrive, so it didn't object to being called Old Fourth. Here's a small chi gathering pill. Eat it, and you'll be able to level up to Earth class. Then, you'll be able to deal with higher level enemies. Lenny took out a small chi gathering pill from his pocket and gave it to the purple lightning beast. The purple lightning beast had never eaten a human's medicinal pill before, but since it was something Lin Yi gave it, it swallowed it in one gulp. However, the purple electric tempest beast that had swallowed the little chi gathering pill did not show signs of a breakthrough like Han Jingjing. Instead, it behaved the same as usual. Lin Yi waited for a long time and didn't see any abnormalities. He couldn't help but ask, "Do you feel anything special?" The purple lightning beast was quite puzzled. Logically, Lin Yi wouldn't lie to it. He had already helped it level up a few times. It was already at Mystic Late Phase peak, so it believed that Lin Yi could help it level up. But the reality was that after it ate the small chi gathering pill, other than a weak energy replenishment, it didn't feel anything special. Roar, roar. The purple lightning beast told Skybolt Pig about its situation. And Skybolt Pig wrote down the purple lightning beast situation to Lin Yi. Strange, no breakthrough? Lin Yi frowned, but then he thought of an important situation. Could it be that spirit beasts were different from humans? Cultivators could use the small chi gathering pill to break through, but spirit beasts couldn't? The small chi gathering pill that contained a lot of energy wasn't very useful to the purple lightning beast. Was it because it needed more energy than cultivators? Or was it because of their different physiques? The energy that Lin Yi sent to it came from a jade space. Lin Yi didn't calculate the exact amount, but now it seemed that the latter was more likely. Spirit beasts shouldn't be able to increase their strength through medicinal pills. Thinking about it, if spirit beasts could use medicinal pills, then the spirit beasts of the Qianshan sect would have a qualitative leap. They just needed to give some medicinal pills to the spirit beasts, and even with Jindao's spirit wolf would be able to level up to Earth class. Why would it still be at the golden class? And as the sect's guardian spirit beast, the purple lightning beast wouldn't be stuck at the peak of the golden class late phase. Lin Yi shook his head. It seemed that he was too simple-minded. Spirit beasts couldn't use human practitioners' medicinal pills. It was a waste of a small chi gathering pill. Although Lin Yi got it for free, it still hurt him a lot. He could only give the remaining one to Wu Qintian. If there was one more, he could give it to Ling Shan or Faubert. Seems like medicinal pills don't have much effect on you, Lin Yi said. If you want to level up, wait until I break through to Sky Class. Roar, roar. The purple lightning beast wasn't too disappointed. It was satisfied with its current strength. Waiting for Lin Yi to become Sky Class wasn't an impossible dream. After dealing with the beast, Lin Yi turned around and went back to the villa. Only then did he realize that the sun was already rising from the east. He didn't realize that he'd wasted an entire night here. It seemed like the beast had absorbed a lot of pure qi. When he returned to the living room, Lin Yi saw Chuntian sitting on the sofa with his eyes closed. He heard footsteps and opened his eyes, surprised to see Lin Yi. "Boss, you're back." Chuntian had arrived a long time ago, but Mingyao told him that Lin Yi was in the backyard doing research on spirit beasts, so he didn't disturb him. He just sat there and waited. "You're fast." Lin Yi threw the last small chi gathering pill to Chuntian. "Take this, it'll increase your spiritual strength to Earth class early phase. I'm going on a long trip with Jingyi, so I'll need you to be her bodyguard for a while." "Bodyguard, no problem. I'm familiar with the job." Chuntian didn't mind. His attention was on the small chi gathering pill. "Boss, is this the legendary small chi gathering pill? How's you treated this like a treasure back then?" It's a treasure in the common house. It's rare in the hidden house, but it's not much of a treasure." Lin Yi said, "Take it, I'll protect you." "Okay." Chuntian swallowed the pill without hesitation, closing his eyes and channeling his practitioner's arts to dissolve the pill's effects. Chapter 2201. Qin Tian, on the other hand, looked like he was in pain, but if even Han Jingjing could endure it, Qin Tian, a physical practitioner, naturally could. But from Lin Yi's point of view, Qin Tian's pain was much worse than Han Jingjing's. It was similar to when Han Xiaopa took the pill. Perhaps it was because they were both real practitioners, and Han Jingjing's practitioner's arts were just a support arts for the refiner, so it wasn't that hard to level up. Half an hour later, Qin Tian let out a long breath, a relaxed expression on his face. He was very happy inside, and if he wasn't afraid of waking up Meng Yao and Yushu upstairs, he would have laughed out loud. That's amazing. Qin Tian sighed. Boss, to be honest, I've never thought that I'd become an Earth class one day. Really, in the common world, a mystic is already a very powerful existence. But I'm actually an Earth class now. What? Are you satisfied with Earth class? Lin Yi smiled. If it were before, of course I'd be satisfied, let alone Earth class. Even Mystic class would be enough, Qin Tian said. But now, after following you, boss, I know that there's always someone better than me, and my goal has become bigger and bigger. My ultimate goal is Sky class. I want to become a Sky class. Not bad. You're a little ambitious now, Lin Yi said. Don't worry, breaking through to Sky class won't be a dream. If Han Jingjing became a third-level refiner, she would be able to make qi gathering pills, and if he could become a Sky class, he would be able to raise Qin Tian to Earth class late phase peak, and with a qi gathering pill, he would be able to step into Sky class as well. So, Qin Tian becoming a Sky class wasn't a dream at all. Boss, I heard from Jingyi that you're going to a very dangerous place? Qin Tian asked. Yes, Wulonghaot mountain range. I heard it's dangerous. Lin Yi didn't hide anything. But it's about Jingyi's identity. I've already promised her, so I'll go with her. Man, that's the difference between us, boss. I'm not afraid of death, but if it were me, I'd tell Sun Jingyi not to take the risk, but you're different, boss. No wonder Jingyi chose you. Qin Tian said. Are you praising me or saying that I'm reckless? Lin Yi laughed. Of course it's a compliment. Wealth comes from danger. Dangerous places also mean opportunities. This is an unchanging truth. However, I lack this adventure spirit. Qin Tian said, so I'll just stay here as a follower. Boss leading me forward is enough. I also have a few bottles of body strengthening potions from the Hidden House Pie. They train their fists, and you train your iron fist, so there should be some similarities. These potions should be good for your physical training, Lin Yi said. It can't be. There's a potion from the Hidden House Pie. Qin Tian's eyes widened as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. It wasn't that he hadn't heard of this potion before, but he'd heard of it so many times that his ears were getting calluses. The potions from the Hidden House Pie were famous, and it was said that they had something to do with the ancient sect Holy Fist Palace. Elder Wu Gongyao had tried to get a bottle of this potion from the Hidden House Pie for Qin Tian to train his iron fist arts, but the Hidden House Pie didn't care at all. They wouldn't sell it no matter how much they offered, and Gongyao had no choice. Don't be fooled by the fact that they were a normal family in the common world. But when it came to the level of the hidden families, they were nothing. So Gongyao had told his disciples many times that if they knew of the existence of the potion, they had to get it back no matter what the price was. It would be a huge improvement to House Wu's iron fist arts. Not only would their training speed increase, but their strength and the strength of their palms would increase as well. It had been a long time since anyone mentioned it, and Qin Tian had almost forgotten about the existence of this potion. But now that Lin Yi mentioned it, he suddenly remembered. Yes, and it's not just one. There's quite a few. Lin Yi said, I'll give it to you later. There's quite a few? Qin Tian was even more shocked. Boss, House Pie usually doesn't sell this potion. It's hard to get even one bottle, and you have quite a few? What's so strange about that? We even got the small qi gathering pill from the Hidden House U. We don't need the potions from the Hidden House Pie. Lin Yi said, Is this useful to you? Not just useful, it's very useful. Qin Tian nodded and said solemnly, With this elixir, my physical training speed will increase more than twofold, and my strength and iron palms will increase as well. Oh, use it then. I'll give you more if it's not enough, Lin Yi said. Why? Qin Tian's jaw dropped when he heard Lin Yi's words. It was already a great fortune for him to be able to get these few bottles. How could he ask for more if it wasn't enough? The hidden house, Pai had quite a lot of these potions, but they wouldn't just give them away for free, would they? Oh, I forgot to tell you, Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai from the hidden house Pai are my followers, but they're currently under observation. Once they pass, they'll be your followers too, Linny said. Pfft. Cough, cough. Shintian almost choked after hearing Lin Yi's words. What? Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai are my followers? They're their boss, so naturally they'll be ranked lower than you. Just like you, Air Gooden, Kong, and Fatty Lai, you're their follower, Linny said. My God, the two heirs of the hidden house Pai. They're my underlings? Shintian never thought that he'd be this strong one day. Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai were Lin Yi's followers? Then it was only right for him to call Shintian bro, and they were still under observation. Whether or not they'd be recognized by Lin, it would depend on their performance. This was something Shintian didn't even dare to think about before. If it were before, he'd be very respectful when he saw Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai. But now he had to be polite. It was simple. He was now Lin Yi's official follower, and in front of Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai, he was a senior. He couldn't embarrass Lin. Chapter 2202. Shintian decided that he would give his grandpa a call when he had the time. He asked, Right, can you give my grandpa a bottle of this elixir? Although he's a bit of a snob, he's still very nice to me. Sure, you can decide what I give you, Linny said. Thank you, boss. Shintian breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he didn't hold a grudge against his grandpa. Actually, I don't blame your grandpa. It's not wrong for him to protect himself. He's just a small common house. It's normal that he can't fight against a hidden house. He waved his hand. Don't worry about it too much. You're my follower. I'll take care of your family. Boss, you're the best. Shintian was so touched he didn't know what to say. Right. I'll give you Pai Jishan's phone number. If you run into any trouble you can't solve, you can call him for help, Linny said as he sent Pai Jishan's number to Shintian. Okay, Shintian nodded. Rest for a bit. I've arranged everything here. I'll leave tomorrow morning, Linny said as he stood up. He needed to pack his things. In the morning, Linny called Bai Wei to and asked him to ask Boss Bai for leave. Shintian became the Miss Temporary Driver and Bodyguard again, but his car was Han Jingjing's BMW X5M. After sending off the Miss Shu, Han Jingjing, and Han Xiao Xiao, Linny drove the Jeep to the hotel with Skybolt Pig. The reason why he brought Skybolt Pig was because it was very smart and had the ability to find treasures. It was also very sensitive to maps. It was the best choice when going out. There was no point in keeping it at home, but the purple Thunderbolt Beast and General Wei Wu could protect the Miss and Shu. Linny always brought a spiritual beast with him just in case his meridians were damaged beyond repair, just like the time at the Ice Palace. Linny called Sun Jingyi downstairs, and not long after, Sun Jingyi walked out of the hotel with a backpack. Only this much luggage. Linny was surprised to see Sun Jingyi packed so lightly. Linny had already opened the trunk for her, only to realize that she didn't even need to put her backpack in the trunk. Then how much? Sun Jingyi smiled. It's not like we're going on a vacation. Why bring so many things? There's only a few undergarments and daily necessities. I didn't bring anything else. Linny nodded. He had fewer things than Sun Jingyi. This was what an adventurer should do. He and Sun Jingyi were going to Wulong Haut Mountains to explore, not to play. The more things they brought, the more burdensome it would be. Have you had breakfast? If you have, we'll leave now, Linny said. Yes, let's go. Sun Jingyi couldn't wait anymore. The map her parents left behind must have some important secrets. She wanted to see it as soon as possible. Linny started the car and drove towards Wulong Haut Mountains according to the directions on the GPS. This time, Lin Yi's goal was clear, and Lin Yi's driving skills were outstanding. He maintained a speed of more than 200 miles per hour, making Sun Jingyi feel like she was on a plane. Why are you driving so fast? Sun Jingyi found that he had his eyes closed when he was driving, which made her surprised and horrified. She said, You don't look at the road? I'm looking. He was actually cultivating, but he was cultivating in the space of the jade pendant. His perception of the outside world was stronger than Lin Yi's observation of the road information with the naked eye. Lin Yi looked at the naked eye. Even if he was a cultivator, he could only see a few hundred meters away. However, in the space of the jade pendant, the perception of the spiritual awareness could perceive further, and it was clearer and more detailed. Then why are you closing your eyes? Sun Jingyi found that Lin Yi had overtaken 3 or 4 cars with his eyes closed, and she was even more surprised. I'm cultivating. Lin Yi said, well, if you're tired, you can sleep for a while. Okay, I hope you don't crash, Great Bandit. Sun Jingyi was speechless about Lin Yi's driving skills. Isn't this too superb? Great Bandit? If I don't have any ability, how can I make you fall in love with me? Lin Yi smiled. After listening to Lin Yi's words, Sun Jingyi really closed her eyes and fell asleep soon. Because Lin Yi's speed was too stable, although he didn't use the constant speed cruise, the speed was smoother than the constant speed cruise, which made Sun Jingyi feel drowsy. Moreover, watching Lin Yi driving was too thrilling. If you didn't look, you wouldn't feel anything. It looked really dangerous. When Sun Jingyi woke up, she found that the sky was already dark. She didn't expect that she could sleep so well. She actually slept for a whole day. However, she had crammed the knowledge of the Wulenhate mountain range in the hotel last night. She almost didn't sleep all night, so it wasn't a big surprise that she slept for a whole day. Where are we? Sun Jingyi opened her eyes and asked as she looked at the darkness outside the window. I don't know, Lin Yi said, but there are still more than 2,000 kilometers to go. Lin Yi took the shortest route. There were national highways and highways. Some of them were still passing through small mountain villages. But now, Lin Yi only had more than 2,000 kilometers left to reach the vicinity of the Wulenhate mountain range. So fast. Sun Jingyi was a little surprised. Originally, in her opinion, if the two of them drove, it would take at least 3 or 4 days, but she didn't expect Lin Yi's speed to be so fast. Moreover, he was traveling day and night. It's okay, Lin Yi said. When we passed a few villages on the way, the road was not good, so we slowed down. Otherwise, we should be faster. Are you sleepy? Do you want me to drive for a while? Sun Jingyi had rested well, and now she was in high spirits. I'm not sleepy. In fact, I have been resting and replenishing my physical strength through cultivation, said Lin Yi. Gosh, are you serious? You're driving in the dark with your eyes closed? Sun Jingyi was shocked. Lin Yi closed his eyes. The night was like day. It was clearer than when he opened his eyes. Are you hungry? I'm fine. What about you? I have biscuits, milk, and chocolate in my backpack. They are all high-calorie foods. Do you want to eat some? Asked Sun Jingyi. Chapter 22:03. Then I won't stand on ceremony. I'm really a little hungry. Sun Jingyi turned around and took her backpack. She took out a carton of milk and a box of biscuits and wolfed them down. In front of Lin Yi, she didn't pretend to be gentle. They were already very familiar. Sun Jingyi didn't need to pretend in front of Lin Yi. After eating a few mouthfuls, Sun Jingyi asked Lin, You really don't want to eat? I really don't want to eat. Lin Yi said, I can replenish my physical strength during cultivation. Okay, then I'll eat it myself. Sun Jingyi nodded and said. Half an hour later, Lin Yi drove out of the national highway and came to a small town. He passed by a gas station. Lin Yi filled up the gas tank and filled the auxiliary tank in the trunk. Then he drove to the door of a 24-hour porridge shop and said, Do you want to go in and sit down? Okay. Sun Jingyi ate a few biscuits, but it didn't help much. She slept for a day and was hungry for a day. She wasn't like Lin Yi, who didn't eat or drink and could only replenish his physical strength through cultivation. The two of them came to the porridge shop together. In the porridge shop, there were a few tables of customers, but there weren't many people. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi ordered 2 trays of soup dumplings, a bucket of century egg and lean meat porridge, and a few side dishes. The cost here wasn't high. They spent less than 100 yuan in total, but the two of them ate well. After eating, Lin Yi continued to drive. There was a glimmer of dawn on the horizon. It was the next day. There are about 1,000 kilometers left. Lin Yi looked at the prompt on the car's navigation and said to Sun Jingyi, The people here are getting fewer and fewer. Sun Jingyi looked out the window and sighed. Why will my parents leave a map of this place? Who knows? We'll only know when we get there, Lin Yi said. When it was almost noon, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi arrived at the last town on the border. After leaving this town, they would be in another country, and most of the Wulong-Heot mountain range was outside the border. At the border, there should be border guards responsible for patrolling and guarding, so Lin Yi didn't drive to the border rashly. Instead, he parked the car in front of a hotel that integrated restaurants and accommodation in this town. He was going to eat something here first and inquire about the situation here while eating. The words Dragon Gate Inn were written in a flamboyant style. The style of the entire inn was similar to the inn that Lin Yi stayed in Icy Snow Town. It had the same decoration style, the same quaint style, and the same naming method. However, there were obviously not many cars at the entrance of the inn. Other than Lin Yi driving a Grand Cherokee, the rest were two ordinary vans. One had a local license plate, and the other had no license plate at all. It seemed to be an abandoned car that had not been driven for a long time. In short, the feeling that this place gave people was quiet and quaint. However, after Lin Yi parked the car, he didn't attract much attention. It seemed that visitors like Lin Yi were common to them. When Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi got off the car, a person dressed like a local followed them and asked, "Are you two adventurers from the Tagan family who are going to Riola to town?" "Oh, how do you know?" Lin Yi asked faintly, his expression unchanged. Riola to town was the last town in the Wulong-Heot mountain range. However, this town wasn't in the country, but outside the border. According to the information that Sun Jingyi found, Riola to town was actually a town without a government. The actual controller of Riola to town wasn't one person, but a few big families in the town. This Tagan family was one of the actual controllers of Riola to town. The public security of this town was very chaotic, or rather, there was no public security at all. It was a paradise for criminals and adventurers. Many international fugitives would flee to this town to escape the punishment of the law. In fact, the land where this town was located should belong to another small country nearby. However, this place was originally the foothold of a very large sect. The sect's power was so great that the small country didn't have the intention to reclaim this mountain range. Later, this sect declined and disappeared overnight. However, some fierce bandits took the opportunity to occupy this place. Over time, many forces of various sizes were formed. There were families and gangs. So many adventurers and criminals sought refuge there. Of course, there wasn't much information on how chaotic Riola town was on the internet. After all, it was a town outside the border. It didn't have much to do with the majority of the people in the country, so there was only some scattered information. This was also the reason why Lin Yi parked the car near Riola town. It was the last town within the border to inquire about the information. Although this town and Riola town were separated by the border, they were still quite far away. Therefore, the people here would definitely be more familiar with the situation there. Hey, this is a small town at the border, not some tourist attraction. The people who come here are either criminals seeking refuge in Riola town or adventurers who want to get a high bounty. The local analyzed proudly. The two of you drove here in such an ostentatious manner. Your car also has an official license plate, so I can guess that you aren't criminals. Then, you should be adventurers. Lin Yi didn't deny it. The local didn't seem to want to give up on talking to Lin Yi. He continued, "I'm a local expert. I know everything about this place. Are the two of you cultivators?" Lin Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. He didn't expect this person to know that he was a cultivator. This surprised Lin Yi. Although there were many cultivators in Lin Yi's circle, for ordinary people, many of them were existences that they would never come into contact with in their lifetime. He didn't expect this local expert to know about the existence of cultivators. "How did you know?" Lin Yi asked. 9 out of 10 of the adventurers who go to Riola town are cultivators. If they aren't cultivators, it's hard for those families and gangs to entrust them with important tasks. They can only be small fries. The local expert said, but if it's a cultivator, even if he's in the early phase of the golden class, he'll be treated with great respect as a VIP. He'll be entrusted with important tasks like hunting spirit beasts or gathering herbs in the Wulong Hout Mountains. Oh, then can't we be ordinary people? Lin, he didn't answer the local expert's question directly. Chapter 2204. Oh, what happened these days? Lin, he asked without batting an eyelid. These days, the Tagan family publicly recruited adventurers to enter the Wulong Hout mountain range to capture a fire lion cub as the contracted spiritual beast of the heir of the Tagan family, young Master Taganlong. Tu Tong Tong said, I think the two of you must be going for this? Actually, you don't have to hide it. To be honest, there were also 2 practitioners who successfully left the border under my escort and went to Riolita town. They're also going for the Tagan family's reward. Is that so? It seems like you are indeed called Tu Tong Tong. Linny said indifferently, You know about these things? Of course. Tu Tong Tong said, May I know what the strength of the 2 practitioners are? I'm in the middle phase of the golden class. My wife hasn't stepped into the golden class yet. Lin, he didn't reveal his strength. After all, he was unfamiliar with this place, and it was necessary to be vigilant. Middle phase of the golden class? Tu Tong Tong was a little surprised after hearing it. Damn, so powerful? Just how old are you? You actually have the same level of cultivation as young Master Taganlong. The previous practitioner was in his 40s and was only in the early phase of the golden class. Tu Tong Tong automatically filtered out Sun Jingyi's strength. From his point of view, Lin Yi's strength alone was enough to meet the requirements of the Tagan family. The lowest requirement of the Tagan family this time was to be in the early phase of the golden class. After all, no matter how powerful a fire lion cub was, it couldn't escape under the siege of so many people. Early phase of the golden class was enough. Is there a problem? Lin Yi asked. No. After Tu Tong Tong heard about Lin Yi's strength, he naturally had some respect for Lin Yi. The way he looked at Lin Yi was also different. Big brother, I know you are very powerful and a practitioner, but your wife hasn't stepped into the golden class yet. If you want to cross the border, I'm afraid it's impossible without my arrangements. I'm not called Tu Tong Tong for nothing. Okay, you can send us out of the country. Lin Yi said, How much do you want? No, not much. 10,000 yuan per person is enough. If it's 2 people, I can give you a discount. The local expert didn't dare to ask too high a price. He also knew that these cultivators weren't easy to deal with. Although these people might be rich, it was absolutely impossible to cheat them. Lin Yi waved his hand and said calmly, There's no need for a discount. 20,000 it is. Use the remaining money to introduce me to Riolita town and the Wulong Hout mountain range for the mission. Of course, no problem. After all, even if Lin Yi received the news and came to help the Tagan clan, he would certainly not be very familiar with Riolita town and the Wulong Hout mountain range. It was normal for him to introduce them. We're going to the inn to eat something. You should join us, Lin Yi said. Okay. The local expert quickly agreed. Originally, the Dragon Gate Inn's private room wasn't easily opened. After all, there were only 3 of Lin Yi and the others. It was enough to sit in the hall and eat. However, with the local expert around, the boss gave face and opened a private room for them. It seemed that the local expert was indeed a local expert. It was very useful in the local area. It's convenient to talk here. The local expert smiled. I often bring people here to eat, so I'm familiar with the boss. Tell me about the situation. Lin, he wasn't very concerned about the power of the local expert. After all, he only needed to smoothly cross the border with the help of the local expert. As for other things, Lin, he naturally wasn't interested in caring. In Riolita town, there are 3 big families and 2 big gangs. One of the families is the Tagan clan. The other 2 families are the Lu clan and the Shangwan clan. In these 3 families, there are different numbers of cultivators. They are families that focus on cultivation, said the local expert. Cultivator clans? Lin, he was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there were cultivator clans outside the border. However, after thinking about it, it wasn't impossible. Usually, these cultivator clans were hidden. For example, they hid in a small place like Riolita town. Under normal circumstances, if one didn't come here intentionally, it would be really difficult to come into contact with them. We also have cultivator clans here. Are you all individual cultivators? Yes, only individual cultivators would participate in the Taggin clan's mission. Those sects and families wouldn't have the time to come to this place. Local Tong shook his head and said, there are also two big gangs. One is the Firewolf gang, and the other is the Red Conch gang. These two gangs control the sex industry and entertainment industry in Ruilita town, and the other controls the drug trade. Firewolf gang and Red Conches? Lin, he was stunned. He didn't expect that there was a Firewolf gang outside the border. However, what surprised Lin, it was that these two gangs should actually be one gang. According to the conversation with the drug dealer during the military training, Lin, he could determine that the Firewolf gang and the Red Conches were inextricably linked. Yes, we also have the Firewolf gang here. They developed from here. That Red Conches is originally a drug trade group outside the border, said the local expert. These two gangs have a good relationship, asked Lin. How is that possible? The local expert said, as the saying goes, a mountain can't accommodate two tigers. This is the principle. There isn't much conflict of interest between these two gangs, so there isn't much conflict. However, there are constant small frictions. The Firewolf gang has a good relationship with the Liu clan, while the Red Conches have a good relationship with the Taggin clan. These two families usually don't get along. Oh, Lin, he was very surprised, but he didn't show it on his face. He didn't expect that the Firewolf gang and the Red Conches would appear to be enemies in front of outsiders. These two gangs were really smart. If the two gangs relied on each other, it might be difficult for them to gain a foothold in Ruilita town. However, the two gangs had a relationship in private. On the surface, it seemed that each gang was on good terms with a family. No one could see anything wrong with it. However, this doesn't have much to do with your mission. I think the two of you won't bother with these trivial matters. From the local expert's point of view, these cultivators came with a purpose. As for the trivial matters, they wouldn't bother with them. Right, we only heard from Friend that the Taggin clan has a mission with generous rewards. However, I don't know the specifics. Can you tell us? Asked Linny. Chapter 2205. It's used when breaking through from yellow class to mystic class. Linny said. That's right. That's exactly it. Tu Tong nodded. That's why this mission makes many yellow class loose practitioners scramble for it. If they can get the spirit gathering pill, it's the same as a guarantee to reach mystic class. This kind of temptation, there's an alchemist in the Taggin family? Linny asked. Although the spirit gathering pill was a first-level yellow class pill, it was a very high-quality one. It was much harder to concoct than the spirit gathering pill. Only a second-level yellow class alchemist could successfully concoct it. If it was just a first-level yellow class alchemist, there was almost no chance of success. Of course, Tu Tong nodded. The alchemist of the Taggin family is not only a yellow class second-level alchemist, but also has the constitution of a blacksmith. It's said that he's studying the knowledge of blacksmithing. Blacksmith? Is this for real? Isn't the art of blacksmithing lost in this world? Lin, he widened his eyes in surprise. Towards Lin Yi's surprise, Tu Tong seemed to be used to it. He chuckled and said, Of course, but the Taggin family's alchemist has the constitution of a blacksmith. If he doesn't learn blacksmithing, then it would be a bit of a waste. So he's researching it. Although it can't be said to be forging divine weapons, he can still forge some small things. For example, first and second level cauldrons. This is something only a third level alchemist can do, but with his second level alchemist strength and special constitution, he can also forge it. So, this person is very powerful. Although Lenny didn't know if Tu Tong's words were true or false, but this small town of Ruilita was indeed a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Of course. Tu Tong nodded. It's also because of this that the Taggin family is the strongest of the three big families in Ruilita. Because they have an alchemist, many practitioners go to them. Although I don't know their specific strength, I'm afraid they have at least an Earth-class master. An Earth-rank expert. Lin, he had underestimated Ruilita town. That's right. Furthermore, because of their cooperation with the Red Conch, the Taggin family's banknotes are also very thick. Their alchemist has specially invented a method to purify and refine drugs for the red conch, which can increase the purity and production. In this way, the red conch will naturally not be short of dividends from the Tagan family every year, said the local expert. An alchemist purifying drugs. Lin Yi frowned. Many alchemists disdain to do such a thing, but he didn't expect that the alchemist of the Tagan family would do such a thing. It seemed that the families and cultivators here didn't follow the rules. What's so strange about that? There are cultivators from a Lu family who are helping the Fire Wolf gang to watch over the place. Local Tong laughed. But since the Tagan family has experts, why do they need to recruit adventurers to help? Lin Yi asked curiously. This problem is actually very simple. This kind of work of capturing spirit beasts is very dangerous. Who would be willing to let the backbone of the family take the risk? If the cultivators of the Tagan family were to be injured, would the other two families hit them when they're down? Would the Firewolf gang sit by and do nothing? Local Tong said, so the simplest way is to take out the reward and ask for help. If it succeeds, each participant will get 1 spirit amassing pill. If it doesn't succeed, each participant will get 5 spirit amassing pills. Of course, there are no deserters. This kind of reward is enough to make many cultivators risk their lives. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. Local Tong then explained to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi the situation of Ruilita town and the way to find a Tagan family, and so on. Lin Yi's money wasn't spent in vain. After Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi finished their meal, they prepared to leave the country under the arrangement of local Tong. There was quite a bit of information from the local informants, but they were all superficial things. He didn't know much about the deeper things, so he only had a general idea of what was going on. If Lin Yi was alone, it wouldn't be difficult to leave the country. But with Sun Jingyi, local Tong escorting them was the best choice. Sure enough, local Tong was very familiar with the terrain of the border. He brought Lin Yi to a bottomless river and quickly drove a speedboat nearby to avoid the patrols. This speedboat belonged to local Tong. After talking with local Tong for a while, he let Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi board the speedboat. When you come back, you will still be at this place. You can call me. You can also receive a cell phone signal there. It's this number. Call me in advance, and I will arrange a time to pick you up. The travel fee is still 15,000. Local Tong said to Lin. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. However, after he was familiar with the road, this level of river wasn't difficult for Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi couldn't practice the magic of floating on water, if he threw a wooden board on the water, Lin Yi could jump over the river with Sun Jingyi's help. The person who controlled the speedboat didn't say much. He directly sent Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi over and quickly left. At this moment, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were already standing on the territory of Ruilita town. As for the Skybowl pig, it was put in a bag by Lin Yi. No one suspected anything. They thought it was Lin Yi's luggage. After passing through the jungle, it was a town that was somewhat similar to the previous town. However, all the buildings retained the style of classical art. It was antique and very simple. It was nighttime, but the nightlife here was very rich. These kinds of restaurants and brothels were open, and the street was also very lively. It was a far cry from Lin Yi's impression of a town without security. In fact, although there was no political management here because it was the territory of the 3 major families and gangs, the town's security was jointly managed by these 5 forces. Therefore, the security here was not as bad as imagined. In the town, in addition to these 5 forces, there were also several small families and forces of various sizes. There were also many tourists from this country. This was a haven for criminals to seek refuge, a haven for adventurers to obtain high bounties, and a haven for tourists at the same time. Eating, drinking, gambling, and smoking were all available in this town. Therefore, when the 2 outsiders, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi, arrived here, they didn't attract much attention. They were only solicited by some nightclubs, casinos, and restaurants on the road. Chapter 2206, for example, helping to avenge a feud, or helping to collect a debt that wasn't paid, etc. In short, it was a platform to entrust missions. Behind the Adventurers Guild was the Tagan family. The Tagan family relied on the commission of the Adventurers Guild to obtain a considerable amount of income in a year. Are you two here to take on a mission? Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi had just appeared at the entrance of the Adventurers Guild when a short worker scuttled over and asked. Lin Yi glanced at him. This worker actually had the inner strength of the early phase of the Golden Class. It seemed that the Tagan family's strength wasn't quite right. I heard that the Tagan family is recruiting people to enter the Wulong Haut mountain range to capture a fire lion cub. Lin Yi asked indifferently. The Wulong Haut mountain range was divided into the lower, middle, and upper mountain ranges. Most of the people were active in the lower mountain range. The spirit beasts here were relatively low. The highest was only the Golden Class. Even so, it was already very dangerous. The middle and upper mountain ranges were even more dangerous. It was said that the spirit beasts there were not only Golden Class, but also Mystic Class and even higher. The adventurers who went there basically didn't come back. That was why only the lower mountain range of the Wulong Haut mountain range was explored by these people. Very few people went to the upper mountain range. However, if Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi directly entered the Wulong Haut mountain range, they would definitely be noticed by the local forces. Plus, Lin Yi wasn't familiar with the terrain of the mountain range. If he could follow an adventurer team to do a mission up the mountain, it would be much easier and safer. When they reached the top of the mountain range, they would act according to the situation. Since the big families here were powerful, Lin Yi didn't want to have any unpleasantness or conflict with them. You two are. The short man paused slightly after hearing Lin Yi's words and then asked. There were people who came here to sign up for the fire lion hunt, but definitely not many. Only those very poor wandering practitioners would rush to risk their lives for a spirit gathering pill. That was why when Lin Yi mentioned this mission, the short man paused. Lin Yi smiled faintly and operated his Nigong, revealing the suppressed strength of the middle phase of the Golden Class. Middle phase of the Golden Class? Not bad. With the addition of a Golden Class mid-phase, the success rate of this mission should be even higher. The little man was a man of his word, too, and became more respectful when he saw that Lin Yi was stronger than him. Please enter, you two. Once you've registered, you can rest in the rooms provided by the Adventurers Guild. We'll serve you food and wine, and we'll depart in 3 days. I'll tell you the rules of the mission after you've settled in. Okay, lead the way, Lin Yi said. The short man did not mind Lin Yi's indifference at all. Cultivators all had strange temperaments, especially this kind of loose cultivator. He only cared about Lin Yi's strength, not Lin Yi's attitude. During the registration, Lin Yi wrote Zhang Naipeo, and Sun Jingyi, on the other hand, wrote wife Zhang instead. If these people discovered his true intentions, he wouldn't mind causing some trouble for Naipeo if he were to fall out with them. One could see that the Adventurers Association treated the participants very well. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were arranged to stay in a double room. It was very simple but elegant, and the environment was very clean. My name is La Zi, a waiter from the Adventurers Association. Since you have accepted this mission, I will explain the rules to you. La Zi introduced after settling Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi nodded and signaled for La Zi to continue. As of now, there are 4 Golden Class participants in this mission, including Mr. Zhang Naipeo. La Zi automatically ignored Sun Jingyi. As far as he was concerned, Sun Jingyi was only here to train with Lin Yi and wasn't part of the main force of the mission. 4. It's said that the Fire Lion is still a cub and hasn't even stepped in a Golden Class yet. 4 Golden Class Masters should be enough, right? Lin Yi asked. That being said, the Fire Lion's speed is very fast, and its strength is extraordinary as well. It's said that it can even go up against an early phase of the Golden Class. That's why our mission requires us to be above the Golden Class. La Zi said, when you do the mission, you must first have the ability to protect yourselves. When the time comes, each of you will take a position and block off the possible escape routes of the Fire Lion Cub. Do your best to attack it, stall it, and exhaust its stamina. And our Tagan family's young master, Tagan Long, will help him establish a forced contract with the Fire Lion Cub with the help of the guards. Once the contract is established, your mission will be complete. Forced contract? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the slave contract that Skybolt Pig mentioned? Establishing a contract like this was unfair to the spirit beasts, especially to a young one. It wasn't a vicious spirit beast, either, and Lin Yi wasn't too happy with the way things were going. Yes, you don't have to worry about the specifics. All you need to do is surround and attack the fire lion cub. La Zi explained, thinking that Lin Yi didn't know what a forced contract was. Oh, so we can't kill the fire lion cub? Lin Yi asked. The fire lion cub may be a cub, but it has thick skin and flesh. Without the strength of an Earth class, don't even think about killing it. La Zi smiled faintly and said, moreover, this fire lion cub is very smart. If you surround and attack it, it can escape and won't tangle with you. That's why we recruited yellow class warriors to block its escape route from different positions. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded on the surface, but he was suspicious in his heart. This matter wasn't that simple. If an Earth class warrior could capture the fire lion cub, then it was impossible for the Tagan family to not send out 4 Earth class warriors. If the Tagan family sent out 4 Earth class warriors, then wouldn't they be able to capture the fire lion cub safely? If that was the case, why would they need to muster such a large force to invite external help for this mission? Lin Yi didn't ask about this. If he did, it would definitely make La Zi suspicious and guard against Lin Yi. That wouldn't be in Lin Yi's interest. Chapter 2207. Understood. Lin Yi nodded and said, okay, do you have a map of the Wulong Haut mountain range and a picture of the fire lion? Give me a copy. I will study in the next few days. Just call me when it's time to leave. This is no problem. I will have someone send it to you in a while, Mr. Zhang. La Zi said. After La Zi left, Lin Yi carefully checked the room. After confirming that there were no monitoring devices, he released Skybolt Pig from the bag. Lin Yi, I feel that there is something wrong with this mission. Sun Jingyi pondered for a moment and said, but I can't tell what the problem is at the moment. I thought of it too. Lin Yi said, since the Tagan family is very powerful, and there are many cultivators attached to them, it's impossible that they can't even bring out 4 masters above the golden rank, right? They can completely capture the fire lion with their own family members. They don't need to ask other cultivators to help. That's right, that's the problem. Sun Jingyi nodded. I feel that this mission shouldn't be so smooth. It's not as simple as La Zi said. Actually, the mission has nothing to do with us. We're going to the Wulong Haut mountain range just to have them lead the way. After going up the mountain, we will find a chance to act alone. Lin Yi didn't care. If there was a problem, then there was a problem. But Lin Yi also suppressed his strength, so he wasn't afraid of anything. That's true. I was thinking too much. After Sun Jingyi finished speaking, she looked at the big bed in the room. Her face turned red. There's only one big bed here. How are we going to sleep at night? At night? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi and knew that she had misunderstood, but he still said, of course, we will sleep together. Ah. Sun Jingyi didn't expect Lin Yi to make such a request at this time. Her heart was a little tangled. It wasn't that she didn't have a good impression of Lin Yi, but their current relationship could only be regarded as a joking lover relationship. They really didn't have any other relationship. They hadn't even started dating, but they had already gone to bed. Sun Jingyi couldn't accept it no matter what. Moreover, for a woman who had cultivated in Sun Jingyi's unique mental cultivation method, once she lost her virginity, her cultivation speed would be greatly reduced. What's wrong? You don't want to fulfill your duty as a lover? I came all the way here to help you find clues about your parents. Lin Yi said. But Sun Jingyi no longer had the appearance of a strong woman. She was not much older than Lin Yi, and her mental age was younger than Lin Yi. I'm not ready yet. Do we need to prepare to sleep together? Lin Yi asked. Sleep together? Sure. Can we not do that first? Sun Jingyi had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask. Which one? Lin Yi asked, pretending to be puzzled. You clearly know. Sun Jingyi bit her lip. Her face was so red that blood was about to drip out. What are your concerns? Asked Lin Yi. One is that I'm not ready yet. And the other is because my mental cultivation method, if I lose my virginity, cultivation speed will be greatly reduced. Sun Jingyi had no choice but to explain with a red face, so I must cultivate to the first level. Hee, I said, sleep together, just like in the car. You sleep, and I cultivate next to you. Linny smiled and said, it's just to protect your safety. Although there is no danger for the time being, you still can't take it lightly. Are you deliberately playing with me? Jingyi was infuriated by Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi's words were so flirtatious, but in the end, it was all a lie. She'd even misunderstood him and explained so much. That's not true. You keep saying that you are my lover, and I also took you on an adventure. I have to know your intention, right? Linny smiled and said, I'm afraid that you are playing with me. Sun Jingyi was speechless for Lin Yi's explanation, but she couldn't refute it. She could only lie on the bed depressed and said, then I will sleep. Anyway, I have already told you. You can do whatever you want. Linny knew that Sun Jingyi was angry, so he didn't bother with her. He smiled slightly and closed his eyes to cultivate. 3 days passed in a flash. During this period, La Zi sent someone to send a map of the Wulong Haut mountain range and a copy of the information of the Fire Lion. However, the map of the Wulong Haut mountain range only had a map of the lower range. There was only a small part of the middle range, and the upper range was blank. Come to think of it, even those who had been there would not record the terrain and draw a map when it was dangerous. On the morning of the 3rd day, after breakfast, La Zi personally came to the door. Mr. Zhang, the team members for this adventure mission are ready. Please go downstairs. We're going to set off. La Zi said to Lin, it's in front of the Adventurer Guild. Okay, I will go over after I pack up. Linny said, I will continue to inform others. Lotzi nodded and left, while Lin, and Jingyi packed up a bit. Sorry for troubling you. You should go into Jingyi's bag. Lin, said to Skybolt Pig, sorry for troubling you. You should go into Jingyi's bag. Skybolt Pig was very smart. It naturally understood what Linny meant. It shouldn't be exposed in front of others. It was a mystic class spirit beast. Even if it wasn't an attack-type spirit beast, if it was seen by the Tagan family, it would not be a good thing. Lin, he was going to wait until they reached the Wulong Haut mountain range. He would then release Skybolt Pig when he was alone. This was because Skybolt Pig was very sensitive to the route on the map. Bringing it along could save a lot of trouble. There were already 2 practitioners standing in front of the Adventure Guild. Linny looked over and knew their strength. One was at the early phase of the Golden Class, and the other was at the peak of the early phase. These 2 obviously knew each other. They were standing there chatting about something. When Lin, and Sun Jingyi walked over, the 2 stopped talking. They looked at Lin, with vigilance, but they didn't say anything. And Lin, was too lazy to take the initiative to talk to them. After standing there for a while and not seeing the 4th person come, the 2 Golden Class Masters from before became a bit impatient. The peak of the early phase of the Golden Class frowned and turned to look at Lin, with dissatisfaction. Hey, where's the other person? You are waiting for him. Don't you have any sense of time? Lin, looked at the man indifferently and didn't respond. Chapter 2208. As far as he was concerned, he was with the green-clothed early phase Golden Class, and the 2 of them together were enough to take down Lin. That was why he was being cocky. Lin, didn't even look at him this time, basically ignoring him. What the hell? Do you think you're so great now? You're late, and you're still acting all high and mighty. I think you're asking for a beating. The green-clothed early phase Golden Class was getting a little pissed as well. He had the same thought as the black-clothed man, that if the 2 of them worked together, even a Golden Class mid-phase would be able to go up against them. Slap! A slap went over, but it wasn't Lin, who did it. It was a 30-something-year-old white-clothed bulky man, and behind him was La Zi, who had a bitter smile on his face. La Zi went to find them according to the order of their ranks. The stronger ones were naturally the last to visit, and La Zi could come with him. He didn't expect to hear someone complaining as soon as he arrived, and it was even heard by the strongest Golden Class mid-phase peak. How could he let it go so easily? A mere Golden Class early phase, and you don't know how high the sky is. The white-clothed man looked coldly at the green-clothed man, revealing his Golden Class mid-phase peak strength from head to toe. The green-clothed man was actually a bully and feared the strong. Seeing that the white-clothed man was a master at the peak of the middle phase of the golden class, he knew that even if he and the black-clothed man teamed up, they wouldn't be a match for him. Naturally, he didn't dare to act rashly again. Covering his swollen face, he didn't dare say anything. "I hit you, do you submit?" The white-clothed brawny man didn't seem to let the green-clothed expert go so easily. He also intended to use this opportunity to establish his prestige and establish his transcendental position in this adventurer team. He was worried about not having a chance before, but the green-clothed expert came knocking on his door. "I submit," the green-clothed man said. The white-clothed man nodded in satisfaction and turned to the black-clothed man. "What about you?" "I submit as well." The black-clothed man calculated for a moment. Even if he and the green-clothed man attacked together, the difference in strength between them and the white-clothed man was too big. They weren't his match at all, so he had to submit. This was the world of cultivators. Strength was the absolute truth. If you were strong, then even if others were unconvinced and unwilling, there was nothing they could do. "What about you two?" The white-clothed man didn't seem satisfied. Although he could tell that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi weren't on the same side as the black-clothed and green-clothed experts, he still turned around and asked coldly. Lin Yi glanced at him and ignored him. "Hey, I see that some people are still not convinced. In this adventurer team, there must be a spirit of cooperation and also a spirit of obedience. Pull, these two members are not obedient. The team is not easy to lead." The strong man in white smiled coldly. "In my opinion, if we don't teach them a lesson, they will have problems sooner or later." "Well," Lartzi smiled bitterly and looked at Lin. "Mr. Zhang, this Mr. Bai is a mid-phase golden class. What do you think? I'm here for a mission, not to play along with him." Lin Yi said faintly. "Kid, I heard that you have some strength, a mid-phase golden class, but don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you're weak." The man in white didn't wait for Lartzi to speak before he laughed. "I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm a mid-phase golden class, and I'm close to the late phase. If you're not convinced, then..." But before he could finish, a slap landed on his face, and he spun a few times on the ground like a spinning top. The owner of the slap was, of course, Lin Yi. "Lartzi, I'm here for a mission, not to listen to this idiot. If he's still like this, then don't blame me for being rude." Lin Yi's tone was still calm, as if that slap wasn't from him. Lin Yi couldn't be too low profile on the team, but he couldn't be too high profile either. He had to find the right balance, and that was the only way he could have a say in the team. It would be beneficial for him to continue his exploration after the mission was over. Mid-phase golden class, it was indeed mid-phase golden class. Everyone at the scene was shocked. Lin, he was only at the middle phase of the golden class. Yet he was able to beat the white-clothed man who was at the peak of the middle phase of the golden class into a spinning top. This level of strength was enough to shock everyone. As for the black-clothed and green-clothed masters, they felt lucky that they didn't ridicule Lin Yi too much. They didn't think that this guy was even fiercer than the white-clothed man. Of course, the two of them were still very happy that Lin Yi and the white-clothed man were fighting. They were ignored by Lin Yi before and insulted by the white-clothed man. In short, it would be best if both of them were injured. The white-clothed man spun a few times on the ground before he finally stopped. His face was red, and his eyes were filled with disbelief and unwillingness. From his point of view, Lin Yi was a mid-phase golden class master, one level lower than him, and yet he was able to beat him like this. It must have been a sneak attack. "Kid, you're asking for it." The man in white was much more alert after coming back to his senses. He clenched his fist and threw a punch at Lin Yi's face. He didn't hold back at all. He was pissed off. Bang! A loud sound. Just when everyone thought that Lin Yi would be heavily injured by the white-clothed man, something strange happened again. The white-clothed man was sent flying, and there was a large footprint on his white robe. He was kicked out by Lin Yi. The first time was because he was unprepared and lucky, but the second time, was it still the same? The second time was the embodiment of strength. Other than Sun Jingyi, everyone else was shocked to understand one thing. and that was that Lin Yi could fight above his level. It wasn't common for practitioners to fight above their level, but it definitely existed, and Lin Yi should be this type of person. After the white-clothed man landed on the ground, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was a little pale, and he sat on the ground, adjusting his breath for a while before his face returned to normal. These two moves didn't use chi. If you do it twice, it won't be a third time. There's still a third time, and you can go die. Lin Yi looked at the white-clothed man, and his voice was still as calm as ever. Chapter 2209. This was already him being merciful. If he had used his true chi, it wouldn't have been as simple as spitting out a mouthful of blood. I was reckless before. I apologize for offending you. The man in white was no fool. Although Lin Yi was weaker than him, Lin Yi's combat ability was obviously stronger. Under such circumstances, he had no choice but to lower his head. When do we leave? Lin Yi didn't answer the man in white, but turned to La Zi and asked, Young Master Taganlong will be here soon. We will leave together then. La Zi's attitude towards Lin Yi was obviously much more respectful than before. Lin Yi nodded, but didn't say anything else. Since Lin Yi didn't say anything, the others naturally didn't dare to say anything else. After about 10 minutes, a Hummer drove over and stopped in front of the Adventurers Guild. After the car stopped, a somewhat cold and wretched-looking young man got out. Behind him were two middle-aged men who looked to be in their 40s or 50s. Lin Yi glanced at the young man who got out of the car first. He actually had the strength of an early-stage Earth class at such a young age, which was rather rare. However, thinking that the Tagan family had a second-grade alchemist, he should be able to refine elixirs like the small chi-gathering pill. So, it wasn't surprising that this person had the strength of an early-stage Earth class. Having an alchemist was an advantage, and this guy was obviously just an empty shell. Although he had the strength of an early-stage Earth class, his combat ability was very weak, and he looked like he had too much wine and women. However, the two middle-aged men behind him weren't ordinary. One was an expert with the strength of a mid-stage Earth class, the same level as Lin Yi, while the other had reached the peak of the late-stage Earth class, which surprised Lin Yi. La Zi greets young Master Taganlong, 5th and 8 protectors. La Zi saw the three people get out of the car and quickly walked over to greet them. And are you ready? Taganlong nodded arrogantly, his eyes sweeping across the 5 people behind La Zi, including Lin Yi. In the end, his gaze stopped on Sun Jingyi. His eyes instantly lit up and shot out a lascivious light. His greedy expression was completely exposed. Sun Jingyi frowned in her heart, but for the sake of the grand plan, she couldn't get angry, so she could only endure it. Naturally, Lin Yi was the same. However, this debt was already on Tagan Dragon's head. Originally, Lin Yi despised this kind of behavior of forcefully subduing a fire lion cub as a slave and contractual spiritual beast. However, Lin Yi wasn't a benevolent person and wouldn't sympathize with a spirit beast for no rhyme or reason. If the Tagan clan could smoothly lead them up the mountain, Lin Yi wouldn't mind helping them out. However, young Master Taganlong had been staring at Sun Jingyi the moment he got out of the car, which made Lin Yi very unhappy. He couldn't be bothered to help. Lin Yi might even cause him more trouble than he should be able to. Tagan Dragon didn't think that he would be so miserable. Because of his lust, he had offended Lin Yi to death. It was a perfectly good contracted spirit beast, but because of Lin Yi's lack of effort and intentions, it was impossible to tame it. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's help, it would be very easy for him to force a contract with a fire lion cub. Ready. La Zi also saw Tagan Dragon's expression and quickly said, "These 4 are at the early phase of the golden class, the peak of the early phase, the middle phase, and the peak of the middle phase. Of course, in terms of combat power, Mr. Zhang is the strongest. Even Mr. Bai, who is at the peak of the middle phase, is no match for him. And this is his girlfriend. They're training together." La Zi knew that young Master Tagan Dragon was a lecher. Looking at his eyes, he knew that he had his eyes on Sun Jingyi. However, Sun Jingyi was the girlfriend of Lin Yi, the strongest among the adventurers. Therefore, La Zi was afraid that young Master Dragon would do something inappropriate and affect the plan to capture the Fire Lion. Therefore, he vaguely mentioned Lin Yi's strength and his relationship with Sun Jingyi. Although Dragon was a little reluctant, he heard that Lin Yi was the strongest among the adventurers and knew what was important, so he reluctantly retracted his gaze. He nodded and said, "Okay, then let's set off now to avoid any accidents. Everyone get in the car. I'll arrange the division of labor and plan in the car." La Zi pointed at the Hummer and said, the Hummer that Dragon drove was a 5-seater Hummer pickup truck. Lin Yi and the other adventurers went directly to the back of the pickup truck. Dragon still drove the Hummer himself, while the 5th and 8th Guardians sat in the back of the car. After La Zi got in the car, the Hummer started slowly and headed in the direction of the Wulong Haut Mountains. In a while, our division of labor will be like this. The 8th Guardian will be responsible for finding the Fire Lion. After finding it, he will use a special method to drive the Fire Lion into the encirclement of the 4 of you. The 4 of you will each occupy a corner and seal off the 4 blind spots. This way, no matter which direction the Fire Lion escapes in, you will quickly block it and drive it back to the center of the encirclement. La Zi said, "This way, we can continuously consume the Fire Lion's stamina and combat power. When its stamina and combat power are exhausted, the 5th Guardian will be responsible for assisting young Master Dragon to control the Fire Lion and force it to consume a contract pill with its owner's blood to complete the establishment of the contract." After listening to La Zi's words, everyone nodded to express their understanding. Lin Yi also nodded. Seeing that everyone nodded, La Zi continued, "Mr. Zhang and Mr. Bai are the strongest, so Mr. Zhang and Mr. Bai will guard the middle ridge, while the other 2 will guard the lower ridge. This way, we can also prevent the Fire Lion from escaping to the middle ridge. However, it's fine if it runs to the lower ridge. I'll be at the lower ridge, and the rest of you will be responsible for intercepting it at any time." These people did not have any objections to La Zi's suggestion. After all, this interception method and position arrangement were the most reasonable. Of course, remember one thing. That is, you must constantly spare no effort to fight with the Fire Lion cub and exhaust its physical strength. Otherwise, if it has the physical strength to resist and spit out the contract pill, then it will not be able to complete the contract. La Zi said, "All right, this is our plan. Does anyone have any questions?" "No," the black-clothed expert and the green-clothed expert said. Chapter 22:10. "All right, then it's settled." Razy nodded and didn't say anything else. The car quickly arrived at the foot of the Wulong Haut Mountains. At the foot of the mountains, there were a few big families and 2 big gangs stationed. They didn't allow solo adventurers to enter the Wulong Haut Mountains, and they also prevented ordinary people from entering by accident. Of course, they actually treated the Wulong Haut Mountains as their private land. Other small forces and gangs had to pay a hefty commission if they wanted to enter the Wulong Haut Mountains for training and adventure. But for the Tagan family, there were no obstacles. Especially when they saw that the driver was young Master Tagon Long, they naturally let them pass. At the foot of the mountains, a group of people had changed into specialized hiking clothes. The 8th Protector led the way, while Razy, Lin Yi, and the other adventurers walked in the middle. The 5th Protector, who was at the peak of the late phase of Earth class, walked at the back with young Master Tagon Long. The entire Wulong Haut Mountains, there was only one way to go up and down the mountains. The other places were all dense jungles. It was full of danger. If one wasn't a professional alchemist or apothecary, they wouldn't dare to enter at all. Even if it was a cultivator, a bite from a poisonous snake or insect could be fatal. Even if it was a poisonous weed, it could still be dangerous. Everyone, follow closely and be alert. Don't wander around randomly. If you go astray and get hurt by poisonous bugs and weeds, you'll have to bear the consequences. The 8th Protector shouted at the front. After everyone heard this, they couldn't help but raise their vigilance. On the other hand, Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Firstly, Lin Yi used to deal with poisonous bugs and weeds all year round. Old Lin not only planted a bunch of medicinal herbs, but also a bunch of poisonous bugs and weeds to research things like poisonous insects. Therefore, ordinary poisonous bugs and weeds were really not a problem for Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi was a little afraid. She subconsciously moved closer to Lin Yi's side. Not far behind them, young Master Taganlong's eyes shot out a look of envy and jealousy. Such a good woman. She should be mine. Taganlong muttered to himself with a lustful look in his eyes. Young Master Taganlong prioritized the big picture. The fifth protector reminded him softly. Once the mission is over, there will be plenty of opportunities. All right. Taganlong nodded and stopped thinking about other things for the time being. Normally, when Lin Yi wasn't paying attention, Lin Yi wouldn't take the initiative to eavesdrop on their conversation. But now, Lin Yi had already suspected that the purpose of this operation was not as simple as Shiraz said. Moreover, young Master Taganlong obviously harbored ill intentions towards Sun Jingyi. Hence, on the way up the mountain, Lin Yi had been paying attention to Taganlong and the Five Guardians. Naturally, their conversation reached Lin Yi's ears. I'll have a chance if I end the mission. A cold smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. Although he had to admit that Taganlong's team was very strong, Lin Yi wasn't here for the mission at all. By the time the mission was over, Lin Yi would have gone to the middle and upper ridges. Even if Taganlong wanted to find them, he wouldn't be able to, and Taganlong's previous conversation made him even more determined. When dealing with a fire lion later, he would create some trouble for him. The group walked about 500 to 600 meters up the mountain. Suddenly, a giant python appeared on the mountain path. Although this python hadn't reached the level of the spirit beast, it was still a mutated creature. It was much stronger than ordinary pythons. The qi in the Wulonghout Mountains was thicker than other places. Hence, there were many spirit beasts and mutated beasts here. From Lin Yi's point of view, this giant python was similar to the white python Yang Chi-Chi encountered in the Ice Palace trial. To the current Lin Yi, it was no threat at all. Naturally, it was no threat to the 8 protectors. Sure enough, the 8 protectors raised their hands and slashed at the top of the python's head. The python didn't even struggle before it was slammed to the ground. It was motionless, obviously dead. The black and green masters, and even the white-clothed man, all had a change in expression. It seemed that this 8th protector was also a master. They didn't have Lin Yi's eyesight, so they didn't know the true strength of the 8 protectors. However, it wouldn't be easy for them to deal with this python. Although they would be able to kill it in the end, they wouldn't be able to do it so easily. For golden-class masters like them, their attack power was actually about the same as Yang Chi-Chi's. When Yang Chi-Chi faced the white python, it was quite difficult, so it wouldn't be easy for them. On the other hand, Lin Yi didn't think much of it. This python was powerful, but Lin Yi would be able to deal with it. The appearance of the python was obviously an accident. Theoretically speaking, there shouldn't be any spirit beasts on a mountain path. It seemed that this python was hungry, but it chose the wrong food. This time, there were no other dangers along the way. After walking for about a kilometer, they came to a relatively empty place. The 8 protectors stopped. Everyone, this is our destination. We will also encircle and capture the fire lion here. The 8 protectors said, Lazi, arrange the advantageous terrain that everyone is occupying. I will use a special method to attract the fire lion cubs. Yes, 8 protectors. Lazi nodded and took out the map. According to the battle strategy marked on the map, he had Lin Yi and the others stand at 4 corners. This was a small formation. As long as they guarded these 4 corners, it wouldn't be a problem. Jingyi, on the other hand, was standing not too far behind him. She was here to train and naturally wouldn't participate in the hunt for the cubs. However, at this time, young Master Taganlong walked over and looked at Sun Jingyi politely. Hello, beautiful lady. Let me introduce myself. I'm Taganlong, the young master of the Taganlong family in Ruilida. I'm a golden class, mid-phase master. It's nice to meet you. My apologies, we need to capture the spirit beast now. Please don't get distracted, young Master Taganlong. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good. Sun Jingyi said faintly, as if she was 1,000 miles away. You're only a golden class mid-phase master. I heard that the fire lion can fight a golden class master. Young Master Tagon Long, please be careful. Chapter 22:11. This Sun Jingyi really didn't know what was good for her. From her words, it was obvious that she was looking down on him for being only a golden class mid-phase. Tagon Long wanted to say that he wasn't a golden class mid-phase, but an earth class, but he remembered his father's instruction to hide his strength and not expose it, to act like a spoiled brat, to confuse others. Tagon Long could only continue to endure it. He shook his head. After acting like a spoiled brat for so long, Tagon Long was a little too immersed in it, but he could control his emotions very well. In fact, he was a very smart person, but this was something that even the 5th and 8th Guardians didn't know about. They only knew that Tagon Long was purposely suppressing his strength because he was afraid of the other family's jealousy, but they didn't know the core secrets of the Tagon family and their plans all these years. You're right, the Fire Lion is still more important. Tagon Long seemed to have heard Sun Jingyi's words and thought of the importance of the Fire Lion, so he walked away with a gloomy face. However, he had already made up his mind that after this mission was over, he would capture Sun Jingyi no matter what. It was true that he was lecherous, and Tagon Long pretended to be a spoiled brat, but it was also true that he was lecherous. But this time, he wanted to capture Sun Jingyi, not because he was lecherous, but because there was a very important reason. Lin, he was a little speechless at this Tagon Long. Was this guy that stupid? Seeing that Lin, he was right beside him, he dared to say these things to Sun Jingyi? Didn't he know that in the world of practitioners, there were many people who would kill because of sentence? But Lin, he didn't want to make an open enemy of the Tagon family. Lin, he still had to go to Oolong Hout to look for clues about Sun Jingyi's parents. If this was over, Lin, he would have slapped this Tagon Long to death and run away with Sun Jingyi. Returning to the 5th Guardian, Tagon Long snorted coldly, expressing his dissatisfaction on his face. Master Tagon Long, that Zhang Naipeo will be the main force later. Don't mess with him now, or he won't be able to help. The 5th Protector whispered to young Master Tagon Long, it's just a daughter. Just give him some pills and see if he doesn't obediently give her to you to play with. In the cultivation world, there are many cases of people betraying their friends for a pill. That's true. After listening to the 5th Guardian's words, Tagon Long nodded and no longer spoke to Sun Jingyi impatiently. As far as he was concerned, Sun Jingyi was already in his bag. If Lin he was willing to risk his life for a soul-condensing pill, then he'd just have to give him a foundation pill, or a meridian opening pill, or some other common pill like that, and Lin he wouldn't hesitate to send Sun Jingyi to him. Woohoo! The 8 protectors suddenly let out a long howl. This was the signal that they had agreed upon beforehand. Now that it was sent out, it was likely that he had succeeded. Everyone on alert, get into position and get ready to capture the Fire Lion. Lazi yelled. Other than Lin E, the other adventurers were all on high alert, ready to make a move at any moment. As expected, there was a commotion, and a fiery red little lion was running towards them, driven by the 8 protectors. He didn't know what special technique the 8 protectors used to force the little lion to run towards them, but this surprised Lin E. Logically speaking, a spirit beast without a contract couldn't be easily controlled by a human unless he had some special technique. Roar! The little lion roared and had already entered the ambush of Lin E and the others. However, the little lion didn't stop. It wanted to pass through the encirclement of Lin E and the others and continue to escape through the gaps. But at this moment, the green-clothed master closest to the little lion made his move. Bang! The green-clothed expert's palm struck the small fire lion's body. The small fire lion staggered backward. Although it wasn't seriously injured, it was clear that the green-clothed expert's all-out palm had caused it to suffer greatly. Roar! The little lion let out an angry roar and rushed towards the green-clothed master, wanting to take revenge for that slap. The green-clothed master had already tested the bottom line of the little lion's strength. Although he couldn't kill the little lion, it was absolutely impossible for the little lion to do anything to him. Even if the little lion went berserk, he would only suffer a minor injury at most. It was impossible for the little lion to cause trouble for him. Little thing, you don't know life from death. Grandpa will give you another slap. The green-clothed master vented all his anger towards the white-clothed brawny man on the little lion and slapped it again. However, this time, the little lion was obviously prepared. It knew that this green-clothed master wasn't easy to provoke. When it rushed over, it nimbly avoided the slap of the green-clothed master, and its forelegs directly stepped on the chest of the green-clothed master. Bang! The green-clothed master was unprepared and was trampled by the little lion. Suddenly, the blood in his chest surged. Although it wasn't enough to injure him, it was quite uncomfortable. Bastard! Little bastard! You're courting death. The green-clothed master didn't wait for the little lion to leave. He gathered strength on his arms and punched at the same time. Boom! Boom! The little lion was directly sent flying by the green-clothed master, who was furious. It suddenly flew into the middle of the encirclement of Lin, E, and the others. It struggled on the ground for a while before climbing up. Obviously, it had suffered some injuries. The green-clothed master's angry fists weren't so easy to bear. The little lion seemed to know that it wasn't the opponent of the green-clothed master. It immediately turned around and ran in the direction of the mountain range. However, it was wrong. In front of it, there was an even more powerful white-clothed, brawny man waiting for it. Just as the little lion was about to break through the encirclement, the white-clothed, brawny man directly blocked in front of the little lion. He was the master with the highest rank here. Naturally, he couldn't lose face like the green-clothed master. He couldn't afford to lose face, so before the little lion rushed over, he made a move first. Little thing, Grandpa will play with you. As the white-clothed, brawny man spoke, he kicked the little lion. He regarded the little lion as Lin Yi. He knew that he couldn't take revenge for Lin Yi's slap and kick just now, so he vented his resentment on the little lion. Bang! There was a loud noise. The little lion was directly kicked into the air by the white-clothed, brawny man. It flew up and coincidentally landed heavily at the feet of the black-clothed master. This time, the little lion's injury seemed to be more serious than before. The little lion was struggling on the ground. Before it could get up, it was kicked by the black-clothed master again. Chapter 22:12. Of course, the black-clothed expert's leg strength was much weaker than the white-clothed man's. The little fire lion wasn't kicked back this time, but fell in the middle of the encirclement. The little fire lion struggled a few times and jumped up again. This time, it ran towards Lin Yi's side. Those three people weren't easy to provoke. The little fire lion had a very high spiritual intelligence. It naturally knew that escaping in their direction was asking for trouble. The only one that could give it a try was Lin Yi's side. However, it was impossible for Lin Yi to blatantly throw the game. He had to pretend. This wasn't the time to fall out with the Tagan family. Lin Yi was prepared to wait for this mission to fail. Then, he would pretend to stay on the mountain and help the Tagan family search for traces of the fire lion. At that time, the Tagan family would definitely agree to such a free labor to stand guard on the mountain. They would definitely think that Lin Yi was greedy for the small chi gathering pill and wasn't willing to give it up. This wouldn't arouse too much suspicion. Lin Yi's figure was very fast. In an instant, he blocked in front of the little fire lion and slapped it with his palm. The little fire lion's eyes flashed with horror. It didn't expect that Lin Yi's figure and speed were the most powerful among the four people. Moreover, looking at Lin Yi's swift and fierce palm, it definitely wouldn't be good if it slapped down. The little fire lion subconsciously wailed. Lin Yi's palm slapped on the little fire lion's body. However, the little fire lion was surprised to find that it didn't feel any pain. Instead, a pure chi entered its body and quickly healed the injuries it had suffered before. The little fire lion's injuries weren't particularly serious. Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery for the second time. The healing speed was also very fast. Therefore, the process was completed in an instant. After Lin Yi healed the little fire lion, he suddenly exerted force in his hand and sent the little fire lion flying. It seemed as if it had been sent flying, but Lin used a clever method. The little fire lion did not suffer any harm at all. Moreover, when Lin sent it out, he said to it via true chi, "I can't let you go from my side. You still have to find a breakthrough on your own. However, if you're injured, you can come back and I will help you heal." A trace of horror flashed in the eyes of the little fire lion. Although its strength was not good, its spiritual intelligence was very high. This was the advantage of having a spiritual beast bloodline. It could naturally understand Lin Yi's words, but it was very surprised. Why did Lin Yi let it go? Moreover, Lin Yi seems to be very powerful. He can heal me in an instant. Why were humans able to heal spirit beasts? Weren't only healing-type spirit beasts capable of healing spirit beasts? Although it was puzzled, the little fire lion also knew that this was not the time to ask. It also had to disguise itself. It couldn't let down Lin Yi's good intentions. After the little fire lion fell heavily on the ground, it pretended to be in pain and struggled for a long time. However, this time it was full of confidence and began to take the initiative to attack the green-clothed master. From its point of view, it didn't matter if it was injured. As long as there was Lin Yi, it could be healed instantly. As long as it dragged on for a while, its father, the great fire lion, would see that it was missing and would definitely come looking for it. Among the masters present, the most powerful one was only the fifth guardian with the strength of Earth-class late-phase peak. Even the elders of the hidden House Yu, House Zhao, House Yu, and House Tang couldn't be compared to them. It was impossible for them to discover Lin Yi's small movements and true chi transmission. With Lin Yi's guarantee, the little fire lion didn't even think about escaping anymore. Under the encirclement of these people, it would be very difficult to escape. On the other hand, it couldn't choose Lin Yi's side. Lin Yi helped it, but it had to run away from Lin Yi's side. That was equivalent to harming Lin Yi. And so, the little fire lion changed from running away to provoking them. After fighting with the green-clothed master, it fought with the black-clothed master, and then the white-clothed man. This cycle repeated and tired the three out, but the little fire lion became more and more courageous as it fought. Fifth Guardian, what's wrong with this little fire lion? It seems to be very energetic? Tagon Long asked impatiently. I'm not sure, but according to the records, this little fire lion shouldn't be this energetic. Could it be that this is a purebred fire lion? The fifth guardian couldn't see any clues and could only guess that this little fire lion was naturally stronger. That's good. The stronger this little fire lion is, the more face I'll have when it becomes my contractual spiritual beast. Tagon Long nodded and said. The fifth guardian rejoiced in his heart. If he knew that this little fire lion was so energetic, it was the right decision to find adventurers to exhaust its strength. However, if they couldn't exhaust the little fire lion's strength within a certain period of time and provoked the big fire lion, then these adventurers would definitely become the victims of this operation. The fire lion was a kind of spiritual beast that clearly distinguished gratitude and grudges. It was very grateful, but also very vengeful. In a while, when the big fire lion came, these four people would all die. On the contrary, those who didn't make a move might suffer the revenge of the big fire lion, but it would definitely not kill them. It was just a warning. When the time came, as long as they protected young Master Tagon Long, it wouldn't be a problem for him to suffer some minor injuries. He had a lot of healing elixirs on him, so treating minor injuries was a piece of cake. What the fifth guardian knew, the eighth guardian naturally knew as well. He was watching anxiously from the side with La Zi. He wanted to help, but he didn't dare to. First, he was afraid of the fire lion's revenge. Second, it would be useless even if he helped. With his mid-earth class strength, he could definitely seriously injure the little fire lion if he went all out. However, this wasn't the result he wanted. If he went all out, the little fire lion's meridians would definitely be broken. If the meridians were broken, then the contract pill couldn't be refined and integrated into the meridians. It was tantamount to eating it for nothing, and the effect of the contract couldn't be achieved. But if he didn't go all out, Then what was the difference between him and these golden-class masters exhausting the little fire lion's strength? These 4 people were enough. He didn't want to take the risk. If things didn't work out, the big fire lion would bear grudge. The little fire lion's main attack targets were the green-clothed masters, the black-clothed masters, and the white-clothed strongman. Only occasionally would it attack Lin Yi. However, in the eyes of these people, there was nothing strange. The little fire lion's spiritual intelligence was very high. It certainly could see that Lin Yi was the strongest person. It would rather fight with the other 3 than fight with Lin Yi. Only occasionally when it was forced to fight with Lin Yi would it fight. Chapter 22:13. However, after this spiritual beast got up, it seemed to become more and more courageous. It turned the pain it suffered from Lin Yi into strength to fight against the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed brawny man. The little fire lion's physical strength didn't seem to be exhausted. On the contrary, besides Lin Yi, the foreheads of the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed brawny man were already covered with sweat. They were already panting from exhaustion, and the many attacks of the little fire lion had also caused some injuries to them. The 5th guardian looked anxious, but there was nothing he could do. This encirclement was beyond his expectations. It was completely different from what was recorded in the information. According to the records, 4 golden-class masters would attack the little fire lion cub non-stop until its stamina was exhausted. This step could be completed in around 20 minutes. However, more than half an hour had passed, and not only did the little fire lion not show any signs of exhaustion, it was full of vigor. The people surrounding it, on the other hand, seemed to be starting to run out of energy. Especially the green-clothed master, who was the weakest. He was already panting heavily. His heart was filled with hatred. The little fire lion seemed to have understood that he was the weakest and had fought with him the most times. On the other hand, Lin Yi, who was the strongest, had very few chances to fight. However, he couldn't retreat. If he retreated, he would lose all the rewards. Not only would he lose the essence-gathering pill, but he would also lose the 5 essence-gathering pills. Everyone, work harder. Continue to work hard. Grit your teeth and hold on. The 8th guardian also saw that the green-clothed master was showing signs of exhaustion, so he quickly encouraged them. However, although everyone was clenching their teeth and holding on, the little fire lion didn't have the slightest sign of exhaustion. It was still constantly attacking, and attacking. The 8th guardian and the 5th guardian even wanted to slap the little fire lion until it was seriously injured, but they knew that if they did that, the whole plan would be ruined. If the little fire lion's meridians were damaged, the contract wouldn't be successful, and it would be a disaster. Lazi, the green-clothed guy, might not be able to hold on anymore. When he can't hold on anymore, you go up and replace him. The 8th guardian instructed Lazi. Okay, Lazi naturally knew the pros and cons of this. If he went up and replaced the big fire lion, it would be difficult for him to escape. But he had no choice. Who asked him to be in charge of this mission? Who asked him to take the initiative to accompany young Master Tagon Long up the mountain to please him? At first, how would Lartzi know that it would be so troublesome? From his point of view, 4 golden-class masters were more than enough to complete this mission. In theory, the records in the ancient books should not lie. But who knew that there would be problems? Roar dash, a loud roar that could shatter mountains and shatter the earth, rang out. Everyone present, including Lin Yi and the 5 protectors, staggered from the impact. The sound waves seemed to tear and distort the surrounding air, making people feel suffocated for a moment. Not good. The Great Flame Lion is here. The 5th protector's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Everyone, don't fight. Retreat quickly." However, his voice was too late. A fiery red figure scuttled out from the nearby forest, descended from the sky, and stood proudly in the center of Lin Yi's group. This was a huge spirit beast that was more than 2 meters tall. The spirit beast's entire body was covered in fiery red fur, shining brightly under the sunlight. If it was any other time, seeing such a beautiful spirit beast would be a delightful thing to see. However, at this time, Everyone present was trembling with fear. Even the fifth and eighth protectors did not expect the great flame lion to come, and so quickly at that. According to their estimates, with the great flame lion's habits, it would take at least an hour after discovering that the fire cub was missing, but now, it only took slightly more than 40 minutes. At this time, it was impossible to escape. In front of the great flame lion, whoever tried to escape first would definitely be the first to die. Although the great flame lion's speed could not be said to be particularly fast, it was at least faster than most human cultivators, especially these golden class and earth class cultivators. Their speed was incomparable to that of a heaven class cultivator. Roar, roar, roar. When the fire cub saw the great flame lion, it immediately jumped on the spot and let out a cheerful roar. It knew that it was safe now. However, not only did it express its excitement for its safety, but it also told the great flame lion about what had happened before, including the siege of the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed strong man, as well as the help that Lin Yi had given it. The great flame lion's angry gaze swept across the people present, of course, including Lin Yi. The great flame lion's spiritual intelligence was higher than the fire cub's. Naturally, it knew that Lin Yi did not want to fall out with these people openly and could only help them secretly. Therefore, it would not expose them and would also help Lin Yi secretly. Roar! The great flame lion roared angrily. Its body scuttled and disappeared on the spot. The next moment, it appeared in front of the green-clothed master. The green-clothed master was caught off guard, and with a slap, the green-clothed master was sent flying. He landed 10 feet away, and his head fell on a rock. Immediately, his brain burst. Obviously, he would not survive. The green-robed expert's miserable appearance caused everyone present to shiver. However, in the face of this majestic great flame lion, they seemed abnormally powerless. They were not a match for the great flame lion at all. Then, while the black-clothed master was caught off guard, he was also sent flying. This time, he was directly slammed into a big tree not far away. The tree trunk directly pierced through his chest and hung him in the air. A stream of dark red blood gushed out of his body, dyeing the tree trunk and the ground below it blood red. Another scream was heard. The white-clothed strong man was also sent flying. This time, it was also coincidental that the white-clothed strong man was sent flying to the foot of a tiger that had just passed by. Just as he was at a loss of what to do after the fall, the tiger happened to come out to look for food. When it saw the great flame lion giving it food, it immediately bit off the neck of the strong man in white and took him to the side as a delicacy. Finally, the great flame lion looked at Lin Yi. It was Lin Yi's turn. Chapter 22:14. There were no ferocious beasts, rocks, or dangerous trees in the bushes. It seemed that the big fire lion knew that Lin Yi had helped the little fire lion and was just putting on an act. The big fire lion was not stupid. It knew that these 4 people were just executors, and the mastermind was the young man in luxurious clothes who was trembling in fear not far away. The big fire lion knew this person. He was the young master of the Tagan family, Tagan Long. As one of the few highly intelligent spirit beasts in the Wulong Haut mountain range, the big fire lion naturally knew the leaders of the major forces at the foot of the mountain. He had seen these people appear from afar in the middle. However, although he knew that Tagan Long was the mastermind, the big fire lion could not kill him. After all, the Tagan family was not to be trifled with. They were a family with a heaven rank expert. If Tagan Long died, the Tagan family would definitely not let the matter rest. They would risk their lives to take revenge. That was not what the big fire lion wanted to see. He could not stay by the little fire lion's side all the time. Their fire lion clan was not the only big family in the Wulong Haut mountain range. There was another clan of spirit beasts that had always been hostile to them, so he did not want to attract human cultivators. At that time, if the Tagan family recklessly assassinated the little fire lion, the gains would not make up for the losses. However, the big fire lion had to teach them a lesson. He had to let them know that his son was not so easy to scheme against. He had to make them give up and not cause trouble in the future. Therefore, the big fire lion walked towards Tagan Long step by step. The fifth protector did not know what the big fire lion was thinking. He was shocked when he saw its ruthlessness. He thought that it was going to harm Tagan Long. So he hurriedly stood in front of Tagan Long to protect him. Roar! The big fire lion slapped him, and the fifth protector could only bite the bullet. If he did not protect Tagan Long at this time, he would not be able to escape death when he returned to the family. He might as well risk his life to make a contribution. However, the big fire lion did not seem to have any intention of killing him. It only slapped him away and left with the little fire lion, PFFF. The fifth protector spat out a mouthful of black blood. It was clear that he had suffered an internal injury, but this kind of injury was nothing to him. He quickly threw a minor renewal pill into his mouth and channeled his energy to dissolve it. He then quickly began to heal himself. Tagan Long heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the fire lions and big fire lion had left. He was not pretending this time, but he was really frightened. Next time, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to make the little fire lion his contractual spiritual beast again. It was too frightening. Therefore, the eighth protector walked over impatiently. Others did not know how to use the vital energy inner cores of spiritual beasts, but the alchemist of the Tagan Long family knew one of the uses of this vital energy inner core, and this use was not insignificant. Move aside, the eighth protector said to Lin, Yi, and Sun Jingyi. What do you want to do? Lin Yi saw the eighth protector walking over impatiently. He had some doubts in his heart and asked without batting an eyelid. If I tell you to move aside, then move aside. Why are you talking so much nonsense? In the eyes of the eighth protector, Lin Yi was a small middle-stage golden rank expert. Although he could skip levels and defeat the white-clothed muscular man at the peak of middle-stage golden rank, in the eyes of a middle-stage earth rank expert, Lin Yi was just an ant. Lin Yi did not want to form a grudge with the Tagan Long family for the time being, so he turned his body slightly and pulled Sun Jingyi to the side. Meanwhile, the eighth protector quickly used his hands to dig at the collapsed ground under Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's feet. At this time, young Master Tagan Long and La Zi also walked over. When the two of them saw the actions of the eighth protector, their faces were instantly filled with joy. They had guessed the eighth protector's intentions. The fifth protector was currently recuperating and could not come over for the time being. This is the cave of the lesser killing marmot? Tagan Long asked with some surprise. There are vital energy inner cores of spiritual beasts inside. It should be. The eighth protector nodded and said, but I don't know if there are vital energy inner cores. Chapter 22:15. Huh, it's really the little marmot's cave. The 8 guardians laughed out loud and increased their digging speed. They even instructed Lartzi, come over and help with the digging. Yes. Lartzi nodded and stretched out his hand to help. Seeing that everyone else was dead except for Lin Yi, Tagan Long was a little displeased. If Lin Yi had died, he would have been able to bring Sun Jingyi back with him. However, Lin Yi was not dead yet. Therefore, Tagan Long looked at Lin Yi in displeasure and said with a frown, What are you looking at? Help! Do you still want those 5 spirit gathering pills? The mission had failed. According to the agreement, Lin Yi could get the 5 soul gathering pills, but the 3 dead people would not get any. Who asked them to be unlucky enough to die? Oh, Lin Yi responded calmly and walked over to help. He started digging with the 8 guardians and Lartzi. Soon, the little marmot's cave was dug open. Lin Yi touched 2 hard pearls from within. He reached out and took them out. It was indeed the inner core of 2 spiritual beasts. Chapter 22:16. Just as the 8th protector made his move, Lin Yi made his move as well. His left hand was bursting with chi, and his right hand was using the 4th stance Frenzy Fist. Frenzy Fist, 4th stance. Vacuum Wave Fist. Go to hell. Lin Yi suddenly exploded. Before, Lin Yi and Tagan Long were talking nonsense because they were accumulating chi. This 8th protector was at the same level as him, an Earth-class mid-phase master. It wouldn't be easy for Lin E to kill him in an instant. However, Lin E had to kill him in an instant. He couldn't fight with him. If he did, it would be disadvantageous to both him and Sun Jingyi, because there was still the fifth protector, who was at the peak late phase of Earth class. Even if this young master Taganlong was useless, he was still at the early phase of Earth class. Therefore, Lin, he had to get rid of this hidden danger. The fourth stance of Frenzy Fist couldn't kill a master of the same level in one move, but Lin, he wanted to use the combination of Chi Bombs. Although the compression time of the Chi Bombs wasn't long and the effect wasn't that great, Lin, he was using Frenzy Fist as the main force, and the Chi Bombs as a supplement to deal with the 8th Protector. Scorching fire Chi burst out from Lin Yi's right fist, forming a huge heat wave that instantly pressed down on the 8th Protector's chest. Boom! With a loud bang, the 8th Protector was sent flying by Lin Yi's 4th stance of Frenzy Fist, completely unprepared. His eyes were filled with disbelief. How could a golden class mid-phase master use martial arts? And it was the 4th stance? No, this wasn't the 4th stance, this was the 5th stance. The 8th Protector opened his mouth, wanting to say something. You can go to hell now. Lin, he didn't give him a chance to speak. Before the 8th Protector could react, the Chi Bomb in Lin Yi's left hand followed up and smashed towards him. If Lin, he didn't kill the 8th Protector, he would be a huge disaster and hidden danger. He had to get rid of him first. Bang! There was another earth-shattering sound. The 8th Protector watched helplessly as a large hole was blown in his chest. He died with everlasting regret. In death, he finally understood that Lin, he wasn't a golden class mid-phase, but he couldn't speak anymore. After killing the 8th Protector, Lin, he returned to Sun Jingyi's side. He was afraid that Taganlong would harm Sun Jingyi while he was dealing with the 8th Protector. However, Taganlong obviously didn't do so. Lin Yi guessed that Taganlong was still fantasizing about killing him and bringing Sun Jingyi back. At this time, he wouldn't hurt her. Previously, Lin Yi had thought of 2 battle plans. One was to capture the leader and use Taganlong to threaten him. However, this method was too risky. If Lin Yi controlled Taganlong, he wouldn't be able to protect Sun Jingyi. The 8th and 5th Protectors could use Sun Jingyi as a hostage to restrain Lin Yi. Therefore, Lin Yi finally chose to kill the 8th Protector and find a way to fight against the 5th Protector. As for Sun Jingyi, if Taganlong was interested in her, he wouldn't let her die now. At most, he would control her and try to capture her back, but he definitely wouldn't harm her now. Obviously, Lin Yi's speculation was right. His figure flashed back to Sun Jingyi's side. Lin Yi looked coldly at Taganlong. Don't be too greedy. Nothing could have happened, but you just had to cause trouble. You're an Earth class? Taganlong wasn't stupid. If he still didn't know that Lin Yi was an Earth class, then he could go die. You've been pretending all this time? This has nothing to do with you. Lin, he said lightly. But aren't you also an Earth class mid-stage? Why are you releasing Golden class mid-stage, True Chi? Taganlong's face changed after hearing Lin Yi's words. This was his biggest secret. How did Lin Yi know about it? Along the way, he didn't make a move or release his mid-stage True Chi. Of course, he didn't know that Lin Yi had a cheat that could directly see his strength. This person must not be left alive. Only a few guardians and core members of the Tagan family knew that Taganlong was an Earth-class mid-stage True Chi warrior. If this news were to spread, it would be disadvantageous to the Tagan family. That place would never allow him to reveal his strength so early. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Taganlong knew this very well. 5th Guardian, destroy him. Taganlong looked at 5th Guardian and said coldly, Kid, you're right. Don't be greedy. 5th Guardian had already finished healing and was slowly walking towards Lin Yi. He was very angry. He didn't expect that he would fail miserably in such an easy task. Lin Yi had been suppressing his strength all this time, and while he was healing, he'd actually killed the 8 Protectors, almost threatening Taganlong's safety. In fact, Lin Yi was also a little depressed. After he killed 8th Guardian, he wanted to directly kill 5th Guardian, who was healing. However, When Lin Yi saw that Fifth Guardian had finished his cultivation, he gave up on the idea of sneaking an attack. For an expert like the Fifth Protector, sneak attacks were useless. He had already healed himself, so it was time for a real battle. Give me those 2 spirit beast essences, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Kid, don't think too highly of yourself to kill 8th Guardian with a sneak attack. 5th Guardian had already seen that Lin Yi was an Earth class. However, he thought that 8th Guardian had died because he was too careless. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be an expert of the same level as him. So he was caught off guard and killed by Lin Yi's sneak attack. Of course, this was a reason, but it wasn't the main reason. 5th Guardian looked at the problem from his own point of view. He felt that he could also kill 8th Guardian with a sneak attack, but he neglected the fact that Lin Yi was only a mid-Earth class, not a peak late-Earth class. You're going to kill me. Do you think I'll stand here and let you kill me? Lin Yi sneered at 5th Guardian. So what? You're weaker than me. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. 5th Guardian said coldly. Too many things happened today. I don't want to torture you. Hand it over, and I'll give you a quick death. Young Master Taganlong will help you take care of your woman in the future. That's right. You should be able to see my feelings for you, right? Following me is better than following this useless man. In the future, you'll have a good life, and you'll have pills to eat when you cultivate. Taganlong said with a smile. With 5th Guardian by his side, he wasn't afraid of Lin Yi at all. Chapter 22:17. All right, I'll admit it. You've killed the 8th Protector, and your confidence is inflated. But the consequence of that is that you must stay here today. As he spoke, the 5th Protector's eyes turned cold, filled with a thick killing intent. It's still not certain who will stay here. Lin Yi was actually stalling for time. He was compressing the true chi bomb, but the 5th Protector probably wouldn't give him that much time. Stubborn fool. The 5th Protector sneered. 5th Protector, don't waste time with this kid. Kill him for me, but don't hurt the woman beside him. I still have to go back tonight and let her warm my bed. Although Taganlong had to kill Lin Yi to silence him, he couldn't kill Sun Jingyi. So he had to continue to show his hedonistic side. The 5th Protector nodded and didn't say anything else. He moved his legs slightly, got into a horse stance, and clenched his fists tightly. The true chi in his body reached its peak in an instant. The strength of a peak late-stage Earth class was completely revealed. Frenzy Fist, 4th form. Seeing that he couldn't delay any longer, Lin Yi chose to take the initiative to attack. Powerful true chi once again burst out along with his fists, hitting each of the 5th Protectors. The 5th Protector's pupils shrank. Looking at Lin Yi's fists coming towards him, he sneered. An Earth-class martial technique? I'll let you see what a real Earth-class martial technique is. With that, the 5th Protector's body moved. In just an instant, he dodged Lin Yi's attack. His body made a circle and directly went behind Lin Yi. With a sneer, he suddenly smashed both fists towards Lin Yi's back. Mountain Fist, 10th form. Go to hell, kid. With a roar, the 5th Protector's fists also smashed towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was shocked. The powerful true chi fluctuations made Lin Yi's body sway a little. And this was under the situation where the fists hadn't hit Lin Yi's body. They couldn't welcome him. Lin Yi didn't expect the 8th Guardian to be this strong, to be able to train up to the 10th form. But thinking about it, it was normal for an Earth-class late-phase peak master to be able to use the 10th form. If Lin Yi was hit, he would definitely be seriously injured. Vacuum oscillating fist. Lin Yi did not even look behind him. He threw the compressed true energy bomb in his hand. The next moment, Lin Yi broke into a run and quickly dodged to the side, out of the range of the 5 Protector's fists. Cheating. When the 5th Protector heard Lin Yi, he suddenly shouts something about vacuum oscillating fist. He thought that Lin Yi was going to meet force with force, so his movements paused slightly. Who knew that Lin Yi didn't even turn around and directly ran? So the 5th Protector subconsciously raised his fist and continued to punch. But the next moment, the 5th Protector felt that something was wrong. Although Lin Yi had left, he felt a strong, true chi fluctuation coming towards him. But before he could react, he felt as if his fist had hit an energy ball. Bang! The fifth protector screamed in pain. Both of his fists were blown away, and blood flowed out. The flesh on both of his fists was blown away, revealing the eerie white bones. Why-ya-ya-ya? The fifth protector looked at his fists, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. He looked at Lin Yi with a gloomy gaze. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to hurt him. Lu Bozi, you've successfully angered me, but don't think that I can't do anything to you just because my fists are injured. I'm not a physical cultivator. I also practice martial arts for my legs. After listening to the fifth protector's words, Lin Yi suddenly frowned. He wanted to blow up the fifth protector's hands so that he couldn't smoothly use martial arts. But he didn't expect that not only did he practice martial arts for his hands, but he also practiced martial arts for his legs. Is that so? Then I'll cripple your legs. After Lin Yi finished speaking, his figure quickly moved towards the fifth protector. He stretched out his fists and shouted, "Vacuum oscillating fist." Hearing these words, the fifth protector was subconsciously shocked, and his body subconsciously paused again. This was because Lin Yi's vacuum oscillating fist was too inexplicable. The fifth protector had never heard of this kind of martial arts. In a situation where the person didn't turn around and the fists and feet didn't hit, he could still use martial arts. Moreover, the lethality of this martial arts was too great. Just looking at his own hands and the eighth protector's chest, this martial arts was too fierce. Therefore, the fifth protector was on full alert as he looked at Lin Yi. Looking at the fists that were aimed at his chest, he didn't dare to reach out and take it. Instead, he concentrated all the true chi in his body on his chest to protect his chest, so that he wouldn't be injured by Lin Yi's strange martial arts again. Previously, the fifth protector had completely felt the lethality of Lin Yi's vacuum oscillating fist. In his opinion, as long as he used all his true chi to protect his body, he could take on Lin Yi's move and not be injured. Moreover, the fifth protector was also very sinister. After he used his chest to block Lin Yi's move, he would take advantage of the close proximity of Lin Yi to directly use the 10th form of the mountain splitting kick and kick Lin Yi to death. Vacuum oscillating fist. Lin Yi shouted the vacuum oscillating fist, but in his heart he was shouting the 4th form of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations. Previously, Lin Yi had found inspiration from the Wildfire Fist and the Vacuum Oscillating Fist. Since both hands could do different things, could he use martial arts at the same time? Lin Yi planned to give it a try. The original move of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations was 1 fist into 4 fists, but now that Lin Yi was using 2 fists, it would be 2 fists into 8 fists. Other than the 2 punches on the 5th protector's chest, in theory, Lin Yi could still throw out 6 punches. At the very least, he could throw out 2 more punches. Therefore, Lin Yi used a confusing move. He could see that the 5th protector wanted to use his true chi to protect his chest. Moreover, this kind of close combat attack also gave the 5th protector a chance to counterattack. This was the effect that Lin Yi wanted. While the 5th protector was unprepared, he would give him another fatal blow. Bang! Bang! Without a doubt, the 2 punches landed on the 5th protector's chest. The corner of the 5th protector's mouth revealed a smile. This vacuum oscillating fist was only SOSO. Because of the true chi in his chest, he did not notice the difference between the vacuum oscillating fist and the previous one. He was excitedly preparing to use the 10th form of the mountain splitting kick when he suddenly felt a violent pain. Bang! 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 Chapter 22:18. Moreover, if one were to talk about shamelessness, it was the Tagan family's people who were shameless first. Lin Yi had only fought back shamelessly. Arrogant. The 5th protector's eyes almost popped out. The veins on his forehead bulged. He let out a mournful scream and directly knelt on the ground. He covered the area between his legs with both hands and gasped for breath. His family jewels had basically been completely blown up by Lin Yi's 6 punches. This was one of the weakest parts of the human body. This kind of pain was unbearable even for a cultivator at the peak of Earth-class late phase. The 5th protector didn't expect Lin Yi to be so insidious. What he didn't understand the most was that Lin Yi's two fists had clearly smashed on his chest. How could his crotch take 6 punches at the same time? Where did these 6 punches come from? This couldn't be blamed on the fifth protector's carelessness. No one would have thought that the two fists that had simultaneously smashed on his chest could also hit his crotch 6 more times. This simply didn't make sense. Therefore, the fifth protector's true chi was protecting his chest. He simply didn't spare any extra true chi to other places. Of course, this was also because Lin Yi's vacuum oscillation fist had caused too much damage to the fifth protector. Otherwise, the fifth protector wouldn't have been so careful to use all his true chi to protect his chest. And if Lin Yi had stopped after these 2 punches, perhaps the fifth protector would have used true chi to protect his body again before activating his martial skill. This was because from his perception, the 2 punches that Lin Yi had smashed on his chest didn't need to gather all his true chi to protect himself. He only needed to use true chi to protect his body normally. However, it was too late for regrets now. He was about to die from the pain. Taking advantage of someone's weakness was Lin Yi's style. In Lin Yi's mind, there was never any such thing as a fair fight. Lin Yi wasn't a knight. In essence, he was an assassin because his master was an assassin. The education that Lin Yi had received since young was that the process of killing wasn't important. The most important thing was the result. Moreover, if he couldn't win, he would run if he could. If he couldn't run, he would think of a way to kill his opponent. Therefore, when the 5 guardians were kneeling on the ground, gasping for breath, Lin Yi moved again. Frenzy fist, 4th style, Lin Yi shouted in his heart, but he didn't say anything on the surface. His burning hot, true chi transformed into a ball of flame that wrapped around his right fist, and he quickly punched towards the fifth protector's head. At this moment, the fifth guardian was circulating his true chi to heal his family jewels. Although his family jewels seemed to have been broken by Lin Yi, he still had a glimmer of hope and wanted to try and heal it. After all, if he was really crippled, then the joy of life would be halved. As a guard of the Tagan family, and one that was ranked at the top, he had quite a few concubines who indulged in debauchery every night. Now that he was crippled, he wouldn't even be able to enjoy the pleasures of a man in the future. That would truly be asking for his life. However, just as the fifth guardian was thinking about healing his injuries, Lin Yi's fist came again. However, with the experience of suffering the last time, the fifth guardian learned to be smart this time. He didn't use all his strength to protect his head, but mainly protected his lower body. This was because the 2 punches that Lin Yi had hit his chest previously were just so in his opinion. There wasn't anything too outstanding. As for the 6 punches that hit his lower body, because they were continuous attacks and were the most vulnerable parts of the human body, they brought him more serious injuries. Therefore, this time, he only left a small portion of true chi in his head. Most of his true chi protected his lower body. This was because the fifth guardian guessed that a sinister person like Lin Yi would probably still attack his lower body this time. Although this kind of killing fist was rather shameless, it was also very effective. Boom! Lin Yi's wildfire fist's 4th form directly smashed onto the fifth guardian's head, directly sending this guy flying. Although the fifth guardian also left some true chi protection on his head, it was definitely not much. Therefore, a tragedy happened. This time, Lin Yi didn't use the Wood Forest Thousand Changes martial skill, but changed to the Wildfire Fist. Although the Wood Forest Thousand Changes was strange, it scattered the power into a number of punches. If those 6 punches didn't hit the fifth guardian's lifeblood, then the fifth guardian absolutely wouldn't be injured like this. However, the Wildfire Fist was different. The 4th form of the Wildfire Fist was enough to be comparable to the 5th form of other martial skills. This punch from Lin Yi nearly gave the fifth guardian a concussion. "Brat, I'm going to kill you." The fifth guardian was sent flying. He crawled up from the ground shakily. His face was full of blood, and his expression was very sinister. He didn't expect to suffer again this time. This guy, Lin Yi, was simply too cunning. Not only did he have many martial skills, but they were also strange. Each time, it was different, making him unable to deal with them. Of course, although Lin Yi's punch was very overbearing, the difference between his level and the fifth guardian's was too great. Even if the fifth guardian didn't have much defense, this punch still couldn't cause fatal damage to the fifth guardian. The pain in his head and lower body stimulated the fifth guardian's ferocious nature. He took a deep breath and forcefully stabilized his emotions. The true chi in his body almost instantly soared. His blood-red eyes flickered with a thick killing intent. With a violent roar, he brought along a monstrous and fierce strength and fiercely rushed towards Lin Yi. Mountain-splitting kick, 10th form. Lin Yi looked at the fifth guardian, who was like a berserk leopard. His heart sank slightly. The strength of his opponent was far beyond his imagination. The fifth guardian was beaten up by him, but he still had such a strong combat strength. 4th form of the Wildfire Fist. There was no other way. Lin Yi could only use his strongest martial skill, the Wildfire Fist, to fight head-on. The true chi bomb could not be used again in a short period of time. The 1,000 transformations of the wood forest was not suitable for a head-on clash. It was only suitable for a surprise attack. Boom! Lin Yi's fist and the fifth guardian's leg collided with a loud bang, producing a muffled, thunderous sound. Lin Yi's body was sent flying. A head-on clash was indeed not a match for him. The 4th form of the martial skill and the 10th form of the martial skill were not on the same level. Even if the fifth guardian's martial skill was trash, it was still stronger than Lin Yi's. This was because the difference between the two was too great. Moreover, the fifth guardian's martial skill was not trash at all. Looking at Lin Yi, who was sent flying, the corners of the fifth guardian's mouth formed a cruel smile. Killing intent surged in his heart. Today he had to kill Lin Yi. Otherwise, it would be difficult to resolve the hatred in his heart. Not to mention the fact that the 8th guardian had died at the hands of Lin Yi. Even if he was the 5th guardian's lifeblood, he did not know if it was still useful. Therefore, Lin Yi had to die. Chapter 2219. Seeing that the 5 protectors had gained the upper hand, Tagon Long heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, Lin Yi's incomparable bravery surprised Tagon Long. This Lin Yi was really not simple. Was he already so powerful in the middle phase of Earth class? If the 5 protectors were not his match, Tagon Long might have to expose his strength to fight to the death with Lin Yi. But now, it seemed that there was no need for him to make a move. But Sun Jingyi, who was watching from the side, was extremely nervous. Previously, Lin Yi had the upper hand, and Sun Jingyi was very happy. But in the end, good times did not last long. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi's situation became dangerous. Although Sun Jingyi was not a cultivator, she was no stranger to fights between cultivators. She knew that the reason why Lin Yi had the upper hand before was not because Lin Yi's strength was higher than the 5 protectors, but because of Lin Yi's surprise attacks. But now, Lin Yi's moves had been seen through by the 5 protectors. So, the 5 protectors began a crazy retaliation and counterattack. But although Sun Jingyi was nervous, there was nothing she could do. There was nothing she could do to help Lin Yi. Bang. Another loud sound. Before Lin Yi could get up from the ground, the 5 protectors kicked him in the back and sent him flying again. Puffed. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. His face instantly became extremely pale. His body flipped a few times in the air before landing heavily on the ground. Another mouthful of blood gushed out from the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a serious internal injury. Lin Yi did not stand up before. Instead, he had been healing himself. Even when he was hit for the second time and flew into the air, Lin Yi did not leave the Jade space. Instead, he continued to heal himself in the Jade space. Lin Yi hoped that he could find a solution while stalling for time. However, Lin Yi discovered to his dismay that he could not stall for time. The injuries inflicted on him by the 5th protector were very serious. Every time he recovered, he couldn't even recover a third of the injuries inflicted by the 5th protector. In other words, Lin Yi's healing speed could not keep up with the speed of the 5 protectors' attacks. Still not dead? Very good, kid. Don't die too quickly. I haven't tortured you enough yet. The 5th protector thought of the dead 8th protector and his own unknown injuries. A sinister sneer appeared on his face. He wanted to torture Lin Yi, to torture Lin Yi to death. When he thought of this, he was no longer in a hurry to kill Lin Yi. He came to Lin Yi's side and launched another kick. Mountain splitting kick, 5th style. This time, the 5th protector did not use the 10th style of the mountain splitting kick. Instead, he used the 5th style. His goal was simple. Lin Yi was already struggling at death's door. If he used the 10th style a few more times, Lin Yi would probably die very quickly. However, if he used the 5th style, he could play around and humiliate Lin Yi a few more times. Anyway, Lin Yi could not get up now, so he was not afraid of the 5th protector turning the situation around. Bang! There was another muffled sound. Lin Yi was sent flying again. He felt that the force of this attack had decreased a lot. Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief. At least his recovery speed was faster. If only the 5th protector could reduce the force. Lin Yi, who landed on the ground, struggled for a while before lying on the ground like a dead dog. He was pretending. In fact, he still had the strength to get up and fight back. However, he did not. He wanted to show weakness so that the 5th protector would reduce the force. Therefore, he pretended to be on the verge of death. I didn't expect you to be so weak. The 5th protector sneered, but he did not reduce the force. Mountain splitting kick, 5th style. He used the 5th style of the mountain splitting kick again. The 5th protector wanted to play around with Lin Yi, but he could not keep playing around like this forever. Lin Yi's body was sent flying again. When he landed, he struggled and vomited blood. Sun Jingyi saw this and became anxious. Suddenly, Sun Jingyi felt something in her backpack was scratching her back. Skybolt pig. It was the Skybolt pig. Sun Jingyi suddenly remembered that the Skybolt pig was still in her backpack. Could it be that the Skybolt pig had a good idea? Although she did not know what the Skybolt pig meant, the Skybolt pig must have a reason for calling her at this time. Sun Jingyi could only try her best. While Tag On Long and Shiraz were focused on Lin Yi, she secretly opened her backpack. The Skybolt pig jumped out and disappeared into the bushes behind her. Seeing the Skybolt pig disappear in an instant, Sun Jingyi was slightly stunned. Although she did not know what the Skybolt pig was doing, it should be able to help Lin Yi. At this thought, Sun Jingyi could not help but look forward to it. Tag On Long and Shiraz's attention was on Lin Yi, so they naturally did not notice Sun Jingyi's movements. This was because both Tag On Long and Shiraz would not be wary of Sun Jingyi at this moment. She was a weak girl who had no martial arts and had not even stepped into the golden class. What could she do? It was impossible for her to hide her strength like Lin Yi. Lin Yi was beaten to such a miserable state, but she still did not help him. This was a sign that she did not know martial arts at all. Sun Jingyi was extremely anxious, but there was nothing she could do. She could only watch as Lin Yi was sent flying again and again by the 5 guardians. They humiliated Lin Yi like they were kicking a soccer ball, but she could not stop them. The 5 guardians could only kick Lin Yi again and again until he was sent flying like a ball. Only then could they vent their hatred. They did not kick him to death directly, but instead caused him to die in such a manner. It was enough to show how much they hated Lin Yi. Lin Yi had crippled him and made him unable to be a man. Then, he would make sure that Lin Yi did not die in peace. He would make him suffer before he died. He wanted to break every inch of Lin Yi's bones and internal organs. He wanted him to die in pain. However, just as the 5th protector was having fun kicking, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from not too far behind him. It was the great fire lion. It could not come back. It had left and returned. Behind the great fire lion were the little fire lion and the smug Skybolt pig. The Skybolt pig had the ability to find treasures, but it had another powerful ability, which was to find spirit beasts. It could find spirit beasts within a certain range. In fact, this was just the instinct of spirit beasts. Other spirit beasts could also find their own kind through aura. However, the Skybolt pig's sense of smell and perception was stronger. Not only could it find its own kind, but could also find other kinds of spirit beasts from a further distance. Finding people, treasures, and objects was the Skybolt pig's innate ability. Although it could not see the situation outside when it was in the backpack, it could feel that Lin Yi was no match for it. Therefore, it asked Sun Jingyi to let it out, and it went to seek help from the Great Fire Lion. Chapter 2220. Skybolt Pig also understood spiritual beasts like the fire lion very well. They were very clear about gratitude and grudges. If there was a grudge, they would definitely repay it. Therefore, when he found the big flame lion and the fire cub were about to return to their nest, he told them about Lin Yi's situation with exaggerated details. The big flame lion was instantly furious. This was because Skybolt Pig told him that someone else had discovered that Lin Yi had secretly helped the fire cub, so he was being retaliated against. How could this be? When the big flame lion heard that his benefactor was being retaliated against because of his child, he hurried over to help. Who cared if the other party was still a member of the Tagan family? He would rather offend them than not save Lin Yi. Therefore, the big flame lion, the anxious fire cub, and the proud Skybolt Pig quickly rushed to the scene of the incident. Just when everyone was wondering why the big flame lion had returned, the fifth guardian felt a sudden gust of wind behind him, followed by a tearing pain. He saw with his own eyes that everything below his waist had been torn apart by the big flame lion's claws. This was the last scene he saw in this world. He didn't even know how he died. He didn't understand why the big flame lion had returned and suddenly attacked him. Of all things, it was him. This dramatic scene stunned everyone present, especially Tagan Long. He was still immersed in the pleasure of the fifth guardian torturing Lin Yi. The next moment, he fell into deep fear. Although he had hidden his strength, he was no match for the big flame lion. Seeing the big flame lion's ruthless attack, Tagan Long knew that he would be courting death if he went up. However, he couldn't figure out why the big flame lion had returned. Didn't it leave? Could it be that after it returned, it got angrier and angrier, so it came back for revenge? Thinking of this, Tagan Long's face turned ashen. Hero Lion, I'm just here to watch the show. This has nothing to do with me. I'll leave immediately. I didn't attack your son just now. The big flame lion ignored Tagan Long for the time being. Instead, it quickly went to Lin Yi's side with the fire cub and Skybolt Pig. The fire cub looked sadly at Lin Yi, who was lying motionless on the ground. It stuck out its tongue, licked his forehead, and shed sad tears. The little fire lion thought that Lin Yi was dead, so it was naturally very sad. After all, in its opinion, Lin Yi had died to save it, which meant that it had killed Lin Yi. The fire lion was clear about gratitude and grudges. How could it be happy to see its benefactor die because of it? However, Skybolt Pig knew Lin Yi better. He carefully checked Lin Yi's situation and found that Lin Yi was still breathing and was not dead. He immediately explained to the big fire lion and the little fire lion happily. Gigi, the Sky Thunder Pig, was telling the great fire lion and the little fire lion that Lin Yi had the magical ability to heal himself. As long as Lin Yi was still alive, it would not matter. The great fire lion and the little fire lion were very surprised after hearing Skybolt Pig's explanation. However, when they thought of the little fire lion saying that Lin Yi could heal it quickly, the great fire lion no longer doubted Skybolt Pig's words and heaved a sigh of relief. Now that Lin Yi was fine, the top priority was to let Lin Yi recuperate in peace. Since Tagan Long did not make a move, they would let him go for now. It was just one of the fifth protectors. The Tagan family would not care too much about it. Therefore, the great fire lion gave up on the idea of making Tagan Long pay with his life. He was very smart. If he killed Tagan Long now, the Tagan family would definitely go berserk. Not only would he be in trouble, but Lin Yi would also be in trouble. When Tagan Long saw the great fire lion and the little fire lion's attitude towards Lin Yi, he felt a little strange. Why did they look so affectionate? Could it be that they came back this time to specially help Lin Yi? The more Tagan Long thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. The little fire lion was previously surrounded by Lin Yi, so why did it still help Lin Yi? However, although Tagan Long appeared to be an idiot, lecherous, and arrogant, he was actually not stupid. He understood the fire lion's character. It knew how to repay kindness and distinguish between gratitude and grudges. Since that was the case, it meant that Lin Yi had helped the fire lion, so they came back to repay him. Help? Yes. Thinking back to the time when the little fire lion seemed to be on the verge of collapse, it would run in front of Lin Yi and fight with Lin Yi. Then it would be full of vigor again. This must be something that Lin E had secretly done. Lin E had suppressed his strength to come up the mountain to carry out the mission. There was obviously a problem. How could he, a mid-Earth rank expert, risk his life for a spirit-gathering pill? He would not care about those 5 spirit-gathering pills. Thinking back to how the Great Fire Lion had pretended to teach Lin E a lesson, everyone else had died except for Lin E. If that wasn't a problem, then what was it? It seemed that Lin E was a spy and had secretly helped the little Fire Lion. After figuring this out, Tag and Long looked at Lin E with hatred. While the Great Fire Lion, Little Fire Lion, and Skybowl Pig's attention was on Lin E, he prepared to escape. He even dragged Sun Jingyi with him. However, just as Tag and Long was about to grab Sun Jingyi, Skybowl Pig cried out in alarm. Roar! The Great Fire Lion roared at Tag and Long and pounced over. Tag and Long and Razy were scared out of their wits. The two of them could not be bothered with Lin E and Sun Jingyi anymore. They ran down the mountain in panic. At this time, Sun Jingyi had also recovered from the shock. She did not expect Skybolt Pig to be so fierce that he had called the Little Fire Lion and the Little Fire Lion over. As a result, the 5 Guardians were directly met with tragedy. Skybolt Pig, Little Fire Lion, thank you so much. Sun Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. She could also see that although Lin E was badly injured, he was not dead. As long as Lin E was not dead, there would be no problem. As for Lin Yi's healing ability, Sun Jingyi was very clear. G. Skybolt Pig nodded proudly. However, it indicated that this was what he should do. As for the Little Fire Lion and the Little Fire Lion, they smiled honestly and apologetically. They did not feel that they had helped Lin E. In their eyes, it was the Little Fire Lion that harmed Lin E and suffered the revenge of Tag and Long. Let's leave this place first and find a safe place to heal. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground with his claws. However, after he finished writing, he wiped it clean after Sun Jingyi finished reading it, leaving no evidence. The Great Fire Lion used its claws to gently lift Lin E on its back. Then, the Little Fire Lion led the way in front. The Great Fire Lion carried Lin E in the middle, while Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig followed behind. They walked towards the middle of the mountain range together. The middle of the mountain range was the territory of the Fire Lion clan. The Little Fire Lion directly led the way to their home. Chapter 22-21. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. After placing Lin E on a safe, soft straw cushion, Lin E was able to speak. He had been recuperating on the back of the Great Fire Lion along the way, so his injuries were already half healed. Thank you very much, Lin E said gratefully. If not for the sudden appearance of the Great and Small Fire Lions, Lin E really didn't know what to do. The conflict this time was really a bit risky. However, it wasn't that Lin E couldn't hold it in. The essence energy core of the spirit beast was just a fuse. Judging from Tag and Dragon's attitude towards Sun Jingyi, the conflict between the two would happen sooner or later. It was better to take the risk now than wait for Tag and Dragon to go back and find a more powerful expert to deal with it. No need to thank me. You were the benefactor of my Fire Lion clan. You saved the Little Fire Lion, but because of that, you were attacked by the Tagan family. Our Fire Lion clan owes you. The Great Fire Lion spoke, but what shocked Lin E was that it could actually speak the human language. Lin E, on the other hand, was shocked beyond belief. Jingyi and Skybolt Pig, on the other hand, had their eyes wide with disbelief. It was already amazing that the Skybolt Pig could communicate by writing, but they didn't expect the Great Fire Lion to be able to speak the human language. It was even more surreal. It's not strange that some of the ancient spirit beasts that have entered the heaven rank can speak the human language with good aptitude. The Great Fire Lion saw the surprised expressions of Lin E and the others, shook its head, and explained, "The little guy beside you is also very powerful. When it reaches the heaven rank, it should be able to speak the human language." Lin E listened to the Great Fire Lion's explanation and came to a sudden realization. He didn't expect the Great Fire Lion to be a heaven-ranked spirit beast. Lin E had neglected it before. You're a heaven-ranked spirit beast? Doesn't that mean you can compete with a heaven-ranked master? Lin E looked at the Great Fire Lion in surprise. You can't say that. Although spirit beasts are superior to human cultivators to a certain extent, their advantage will become smaller and smaller as their ranks increase. The big fire lion explained, for example, we attack-type spirit beasts can contend with heaven rank initial phase experts at yellow rank, but when we reach heaven rank initial phase, we can only contend with heaven rank late phase experts. If we are both at heaven rank peak late phase, it's hard to say who will win. Oh, there's such a saying? Lin, he was surprised. Naturally, this is similar to your human external and internal cultivators. Before reaching the peak of heaven rank late phase, internal cultivators always have the advantage and are always ahead of external cultivators of the same rank. But once they reach the peak of heaven rank late phase, many external cultivators have the advantage. The great fire lion nodded and continued to explain. For example, external martial arts such as Iron Fist and Golden Bell Cover, if cultivated to peak late heaven rank, it can be said that no internal expert at peak late heaven rank can match up to the practitioner of Golden Bell Cover, because no one can kill him. That's amazing. Lin, he was surprised. He did not expect that the Golden Bell sect had the potential to aspire to the top of the martial world. Of course, external cultivators are more difficult to level up the further they go. The great fire lion said, in the 1,000 years that I have lived, I know of only 2 people who have cultivated external martial arts to the extreme. They appeared in Jianghu more than 10 years ago. One attacked, and one defended, and they cooperated well. These 2 people can be said to be invincible in the world. They had cultivated 2 external martial arts to the extreme. One should be similar to the Iron Fist, with infinite strength and invincible strength. The other should be similar to the Golden Bell Shield and the Iron Shirt, with a body as hard as steel, impervious to fire and water. I'm afraid that only the legendary Heavenly Tao realm experts can shake these 2 people. Heavenly Tao? Lenny took a deep breath when he heard this term. He had more or less heard this term before, but he did not have a clear answer. Legend has it that the level above heaven rank is called Heavenly Tao. Human cultivators are like this, and so are we spirit beast cultivators. But to reach this level, no one has seen it with their own eyes. It's just a legend. The great fire lion said. Then what about these 2 people? Lin, he asked curiously. He did not expect that there would be such powerful external experts in this world. They disappeared, along with a large number of experts at peak late heaven rank from various sects. The great fire lion said, since then, the rules of Jianghu have changed a lot, but these people are gone forever. A large number of experts at peak late heaven rank. Linny frowned, thinking of his missing master and Rock Candy's master. Could it be that they were part of the group that disappeared together? And his own master was also one of the experts at peak late heaven rank? What exactly was going on with all these things? But regarding his master's disappearance, old Lin must know some secret from back then, but he did not mention it. He only told him that it was not the right time to know too much. And Lin, he also knew that if old Lin did not want to say something, he would not be able to get it out of him. And he was not old Lin's opponent at all. This old man was very strange. It was as if he was strong, but he was also strong. No matter how much he cultivated, he would not be able to withstand one punch from this old man. One punch could directly blow him off the West Star Mountain. Now that he thought about it, he was already a mid-earth rank. Would he be a match for the old man? Lin, he shook his head. The old man and his Shifu were really mysterious people. This is just a secret of Jianghu. It's just that the Wulong Haut mountain range that I live in used to be the location of an ancient sect, so I know more about it. Actually, I don't know the specifics. Where they went, what they did, I know that too. The great fire lion said, at least I haven't heard anyone mention it again. All right. Lenny nodded, but suddenly thought of something very important. You said that the upper mountain range used to be an ancient sect? Yes, but not anymore. The great fire lion said. What kind of ancient sect was it? Lin, he asked. Chapter 22:22. All right, if that's the case, I won't ask any more questions. Lenny nodded. He had also seen through the fire lion's character and knew that it was useless to ask any more questions. However, Lin, he was curious. Could Sun Jingyi's parents have something to do with that ancient sect? Or could it be that they had entrusted something to the ancient sect and preserved it? If it was the second possibility, it would be a little difficult. If the ancient sect was gone, then the things that were preserved would naturally be lost. Even if they found it, would there still be anything left? Seeing Lin Yi frown, the great fire lion was a little curious. Could it be that you have something to do with the ancient sect here? Not really. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shrugged. He didn't hide anything and told them about how he had accompanied Sun Jingyi to find his parents' belongings. When they arrived at the Wulong Haut mountain range, they were completely clueless. Although they had a map, it only had a rough outline of the entire mountain range. The rest was a detailed map of a specific location. It was extremely difficult for Lin Yi to find a specific location of the entire mountain range. Although he had a treasure-seeking tool like the Skybolt Pig, the Skybolt Pig could only search for treasures. It didn't have the ability to find a map. Oh, you came here to find something? The Great Fire Lion was slightly taken aback. Then, can I take a look at the map in your hands? Of course. With the Great Fire Lion's willingness to help, Lin Yi was naturally happy. Moreover, he had no conflict of interest with the Great Fire Lion at all. He was still the Great Fire Lion's benefactor. After taking out the map, Lin Yi spread it out in front of the Great Fire Lion. The Great Fire Lion bent down and looked at it carefully. The little Fire Lion and the Lioness also looked at the map curiously. Based on the shape of the mountain range on this map, this is indeed the Wulong Haut mountain range. The Great Fire Lion had been cultivating here for 1,000 years. So, with one look at the map, he knew without a doubt that it was the Wulong Haut mountain range. However, knowing that it was the Wulong Haut mountain range was useless. When it saw the approximate location marked on the mountain range, the Great Fire Lion shook its head. According to the location on the map, this place belongs to the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. We are now in the middle of the mountain range. Furthermore, I've never seen the terrain on this map before. As for the terrain of the middle and lower ranges of the mountain range, even if I can't say that I know them like the back of my hand, I'm very familiar with them. Therefore, I can confirm that this is not the middle and lower ranges. Upper Vein, you've ever been there? Lin Yi was a little surprised. No. The Great Fire Lion shook his head. We, the Fire Lion Spiritual Beast Clan, have an agreement with the ancient sect. We won't go to their territory. But didn't that sect already disappear? Moreover, according to the rumors, there are also ancient spirit beasts in the upper bloodline. Lin Yi said, it's true that that sect disappeared. However, there are still people active up there, and they are human heaven rank experts. The Great Fire Lion said, the rumors in the outside world are not accurate. It's true that I have an agreement with the ancient sect, but now that they have disappeared, there's still some heaven rank experts up there. Therefore, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, we have no intention of going up there. Everyone mind their own business. It's not that our Fire Lion clan is afraid, but because our Fire Lion clan has sworn enemies in the middle bloodline. Sworn enemies? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. It's the spiritual beasts of another clan. The other party also has heaven-ranked spiritual beasts. Although their combat power is weaker than ours, they have more clansmen. The Great Fire Lion gave a simple explanation, clearly not wanting to talk about these things. As the saying goes, a mountain cannot accommodate two tigers. The annual production of cultivation resources and heavenly treasures in the middle of the mountain range is limited, so there will naturally be conflicts and competition. I see. Since the Great Fire Lion didn't want to say more, Lin Yi didn't ask. Spiritual beasts had their own rules of survival, and Lin Yi wouldn't interfere with their fights. If the place you're looking for is in the lower bloodline or the middle bloodline, I can protect you. But in the upper bloodline, I can't help you. The Great Fire Lion said. However, I advise you to be careful. Although Heaven Stage experts don't appear there all the time, there will always be a few days in a year when a few Heaven Stage experts go there for a stroll. Benefactor, your strength is not enough to fight against them. Although the Great Fire Lion's words were a bit rude, Lin Yi also knew that good advice was harsh to the ear. He wasn't even a match for the fifth guardian, who was at the peak of Earth rank, let alone a heaven rank expert. Of course I know that. Lin, he smiled bitterly. Of course, it might not be that coincidental. Seeing Lin Yi's bitter face, the great fire lion smiled. At least, heaven rank experts aren't always around. Also, if you can't beat them, then run. As long as you run to me, I can still protect you. There are some restrictions near my cave. Even if 10 heaven rank experts come, they won't be able to get away with it. But the premise is that you have to successfully run back. Lenny nodded. These ancient spiritual beasts more or less had some great magical powers. Lenny didn't know what this restriction was or how it was made, but the great fire lion spoke so confidently that it wasn't simple. My internal injuries haven't healed yet, so I can only borrow your place to heal for the time being. Lenny said, Of course, that's no problem. Benefactor, you can stay here for a long time. The great fire lion said, The spiritual energy in the middle and upper veins is about the same, and there are special restrictions in my cave that can make it easier to absorb spiritual energy. You can cultivate here for a while. There's no need to cultivate. I'll leave once my injuries are healed. Lin, he didn't care about the spiritual energy. With the space in the jade pendant, why would he need it? It could be said that Lin, he had as much spiritual energy as he wanted. He didn't have to worry about it at all. All right. The great fire lion didn't try to persuade Lin Yi anymore. I'll protect you. Don't worry. In my cave, no one or spirit beast will dare to come in. Lenny nodded and entered the space in the jade pendant to start healing. He had released compressed true chi twice before, so the true chi in his body had decreased quite a bit, so it was time to replenish it. Chapter 22-23. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Tag and Family's relay station was located at the bottom of the Wulong Haut mountain range. The scattered pharmacists, small families, and gangs that went up the mountain to pick herbs had to pay a hefty commission before they could go up the mountain. Of course, you could also go up the mountain from other unguarded places, but there was only one way up the mountain. The other places were covered in dense forests, poisonous insects, and poisonous weeds. There was also the possibility of encountering ferocious beasts. Many of these small families and gangs that came to pick herbs weren't cultivators. Even if they were, their strength was relatively low, so it was better to spend some money to be at ease. Seeing young Master Tagon Long stumbling down the mountain with Razi, the Tagon family's protector 3, who was in charge of receiving them, immediately greeted them. Young Master Tagon Long, what happened? Why are you so flustered? I'm so angry, Tagon Long wailed. But after shouting twice, he lowered his voice and said to the Protector 3, We'll talk when we get back. Other than the Tagon family's men, there were also the Lu family and Shangwan family's men nearby. There were also people from the Firewolf gang and Red Kong family. Hence, Tagon Long still acted very brainlessly and made a big fuss, making people think that he was a useless playboy. However, the Protector 3 was a core member of the core family. He was Tagon Long's uncle and naturally knew about Tagon Long's matters. Hence, he immediately understood Tagon Long's hint. Together with the yelling Tagon Long, they quickly boarded the Hummer that they came from and returned to the Tagon family. In the Tagon family's secret chamber, the family's patriarch, the Great Protector, the Second Protector, the Third Protector, and Tagon Long were sitting around a round table. These 5 people were the current core members of the Tagon family. The Tagon family's patriarch was currently Tagon Long's grandfather, Tagango. The Second Protector was Tagango's eldest son, Tagansha, who was also Tagon Long's father. The Third Protector was Tagango's youngest son, who was also Tagon Long's uncle, Taganmo. Actually, the Tagon family's protector was like the elders of other families and sections. It was just that in the families of Ruilita Town, they were usually called protectors. As for the Great Guardian, he wasn't a member of the Tagon family, but he was also a heaven rank expert of the Tagon family. Of course, he was not the only heaven stage expert in the Tagon family. Tagon Gao's father was also a heaven stage expert. Moreover, his strength was even higher than the head protector. It was just that he was in closed-door training all year round. However, whether it was the clan leader, Tagango, the second and third protectors, Tagon Long, or even Tagango's father, Ancestor Tagon, they all followed the Great Protector's lead. It wasn't because of the Great Protector's strength. He was only at the early stage of the Heaven Realm. Moreover, he wasn't a core member of the Tagan family. He could only be considered a distant relative of the Tagan family, one that wasn't related by blood. However, his position in the Tagan family was transcendent. The reason was very simple. He came from an extremely mysterious place. If the Great Protector was the number one figure of the Tagan family, then Tagan Long would be the number two figure of the Tagan family. This was because he was someone the Great Protector had high hopes for. Tagan Long didn't hide anything and told everyone what had happened after he ascended the mountain. At this moment, Tagan Long was no longer the brainless wastrel he had been before. He spoke in a very organized manner. Hearing that the capture of the Fire Lion had failed, the Great Protector didn't care much. He waved his hand and said, "It's a failure, as long as the person is fine." The Great Protector didn't have much of a reaction on the surface, but he let out a sigh of relief in his heart. If he had known that it would be so dangerous, he definitely wouldn't have let Tagan Long take the risk to capture the spirit beast. If it wasn't for the fact that the Fire Lion was very sensitive to his aura and that his appearance would have alerted the Fire Lion, the Great Protector would have definitely accompanied Tagan Long up the mountain. As you said, it was that Zhang Naipeo who caused trouble. This person needs to be thoroughly investigated. Who is he and what is he doing here? The Great Protector didn't say much about the failure of the capture of the Fire Lion. Instead, he turned his attention to Lin Yi. "Right, there's something important I need to report to the head protector," Tagan Long said seriously, remembering Sun Jingyi all of a sudden. "Oh, what is it?" the Great Protector asked. The Great Protector showed us two pictures and asked us to search for these two people. Tagan Long said, "Oh, that's right." The Great Protector nodded. He did take out two pictures and asked the Tagan family to search for them, but they didn't find them in the end. He didn't expect Tagan Long to bring it up again. "Great Protector, the woman in the picture is a beauty. That's why my memory is very good. The woman beside Zhang Naipeo looks very similar to the woman in the picture." Tagan Long said, "So I've been trying to get close to her, wanting to trick her back for the Great Protector to check. After that, because of a conflict, I wanted to forcefully kidnap her, but the Fire Lion ruined everything." "What? Are you sure? The woman beside Zhang Naipeo is the woman in the picture?" The Great Protector's eyes lit up as he asked quickly. "Shouldn't be wrong, but the picture is dead and the person is alive. It's just that they look similar. I can't guarantee that I'm 100% sure," Tagan Long said after some thought. "That woman, how old is she?" the Great Protector asked. "Around 20, shouldn't be too old," Tagan Long said. "Around 20? Are you sure?" The Great Protector was a little confused after hearing Tagan Long's words. "That should be the case. She and Naipeo both look really young, around 20, Tagan Long said with certainty after some thought. "That can't be right." The Great Protector shook his head. "If it was that person, he'd be at least 40, almost 50. How could he be in his 20s? 40, 50? That's impossible. Unless she used some medicine to rejuvenate her youth, I wouldn't be that old." Tagan Long was very sure of Sun Jingyi's age. Rejuvenation. The Great Protector shook his head and asked, "What does that Zhang Naipeo man look like, compared to the man in the picture?" Chapter 22-24. "That's it," the head protector said. "They shouldn't be the same person, but perhaps they are related to the two people I'm looking for. Otherwise, why would they appear in the Wulong Heot mountain range so coincidentally? Why would they suppress their strength to participate in this mission to capture the Fire Lion? Even if these two people aren't those two people, they should be related to them." The head protector had stayed in the Tagan family all these years for two important missions. One was to protect and teach Tagan Long martial arts. When the time was right, there would be a huge mission for him to do. The other mission was to monitor the Wulong Heot mountain range and monitor the two people in the photo. These two people were lucky enough to escape from the encirclement. Although the chances of their survival were very small, it didn't mean that they were dead without seeing their corpses. Moreover, the place behind the Great Protector did not wish for these two people to die. This was because their motive for exterminating the sect was to plunder a precious treasure from this ancient sect. However, this precious treasure was hidden away. They had swept through the entire sect, but they had not found it. Thus, the head protector stayed here to keep an eye on the two of them. If they didn't die, they would definitely return to search for the precious treasure. At that time, the head protector would be able to seize the precious treasure and kill the two of them. And now, the head protector saw hope. Tag and Long's information was very useful. If this person was really related to the two people from back then, he must have come to the Wulong-Heot mountain range for that treasure. Then, the head protector could take advantage of them, finding the treasure to make a move. Head protector, these two people, are we just going to let them go? They still have the inner elixir of two spirit beasts. Tag and Long said, naturally, we won't let them go. However, you don't have to worry about this matter. I'll handle it myself. The head protector said, don't go out for a while. Stay at home and practice. With your image of a playboy, you can go out for a walk every once in a while. As long as you don't let others notice you, it'll be fine. Yes, Tag on Long hurriedly said. He was very happy. If the Great Protector personally took action, then all the problems would be easily solved. The clan meeting ended very quickly. To put it bluntly, the reason why the Tagan clan was able to rise so quickly in Rue Town wasn't because of the clan itself, nor was it because Ancestor Tagan was a Heaven Stage expert. In the Liu clan and the Shangwan clan, there were also Heaven Stage experts keeping watch. The reason why the Tagan clan was able to become the head of the three great clans was because of the Great Guardian. Furthermore, the entire family served the head protector and Tag on Long. As the patriarch, Tag on Long's authority was actually very small. To outsiders, he might look impressive on the surface, but when he returned home, his son Tag on Long's authority in the family meetings was actually lower. The clan meetings were completely presided over by the head protector. The reason why the Tagan clan was favored by the head protector and the power behind him was that they had accidentally discovered Tag on Long's special physique. This physique was just right for them to do something big. However, Tag on Long didn't know the specifics. Even Tag on Long himself didn't know. The only thing Tag on Long knew was that once this matter was done, Tag on Long's status would be even higher than the head protector's. His martial arts would also reach the peak, and the Tagan clan would become a first-rate clan. Of course, this was under the premise that the matter was done. If it couldn't be done, then these promises would just be empty words on a piece of paper. Moreover, that matter was extremely secretive, and Tag on Long's identity could not be exposed in advance to prevent any accidents. Hence, under the suggestion of the head protector, Tag on Long had thought of a good way to make Tag on Long a foppish young master to deceive others. If Tag on Long kept hiding in the clan and didn't show himself, it would definitely arouse the suspicions of the other powers in the town. Instead of that, it was better to let him show himself in public. Everyone knew that he was a playboy, but no one would think that he had another special identity. This was also the so-called Great Seclusion in the city. The Great Protector had disappeared after the meeting ended. However, the Tagan clan had played down this matter very much. They hadn't mentioned the whereabouts of the Great Protector. The failure to capture the Fire Lion had also been deliberately exaggerated by the Tagan clan, causing rumors to spread in the small town. The rumor seemed to be both true and false. During the encirclement of the spirit beasts, all the mistakes were blamed on Tagan Dragon. The 5 protectors, 8 protectors, and 4 adventurers had all sacrificed their lives to protect Tagan Dragon. Hence, mocking laughter came from the other clans. This young master Tag on Long was really incompetent. Forget about being a playboy. He was actually such an idiot. Forget about the 4 adventurers. The 5 protectors and 8 protectors were the backbone of the Tagan clan. It was such a pity that they died. The news of Tag on Long being grounded by Tagan Gao also spread, further confirming the previous rumors. This playboy young master had caused trouble. When Lin Yi opened his eyes again, the sky was already dark. Sun Jingyi, the Skybolt pig, and the big and small fire lions surrounded Lin Yi. The lioness had brought a lot of food. Although they were all wild fruits, they were all top-notch fruits with heaven and earth spiritual energy. consuming them was beneficial to cultivation. Mr. Lin, you're the most amazing person I've ever seen. The Great Fire Lion looked at Lin Yi, who had recovered and returned to his peak state, and was very surprised. In such a short period of time, your injuries have completely recovered, and your energy has also returned to its peak. Hee. Lin Yi smiled. Thank you for taking care of me while I was recuperating. It's nothing. It's what I should do. The Great Fire Lion said, You should be hungry. Eat something. There are some exotic treasures here. After consuming them, you can quickly recover your strength, and it's also very beneficial to cultivation. Jingyi, you eat. I won't eat. Lin Yi had just recovered his strength, so he was not hungry at all. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Sun Jingyi had been hungry for a long time, but since Lin Yi had not recovered, she did not eat alone. Hearing Lin Yi say so, she naturally would not stand on ceremony anymore. Mr. Lin, you're not eating? The Great Fire Lion was a little puzzled. My strength has already recovered to its peak. Do I still need to eat? Lin Yi smiled. Chapter 22-25. I understand. Lin Yi smiled. Thank you. However, in order to repay you, I have a manual of your human's martial arts. It was left behind by my contracted master. The Great Fire Lion looked a little lonely. Your master? You were someone's contracted spiritual beast? Lin Yi's eyes widened. A few hundred years ago, yes. The Great Fire Lion said, but he left to pursue a higher realm, which is the so-called Heavenly Tao. Then, he never came back. He was the former leader of an ancient sect here. Lin Yi sighed in amazement. Everyone wanted to pursue a higher level of martial arts, but how many of them actually succeeded in doing so? This martial art was once the sect's signature martial art. It was one of the best martial arts techniques for fire attribute cultivators. The Great Fire Lion said, You're a mid-earth class master, so you should be able to practice up to the 5th form of this technique. As long as you practice up to the 5th form of this technique, you'll be able to activate the fiery bullet at the same time you use this technique. This will temporarily increase the power of your technique to the 10th form. Inferno bullet? What's that? Lin Yi had never heard of such a thing. It's a fire attribute attack weapon made from the breath of the Fire Lion clan. It's a one-time use weapon. The Great Fire Lion said, In this mountain range, our Fire Lion clan also has enemies. I don't have any, but the little Fire Lion and my spouse don't have any powerful attack power. They can only rely on the flaming god bombs I made to escape the enemy's attack. I see. Lin Yi nodded. It takes me a long time to make this inferno bullet. Plus, it's a consumable, so I only have 3 finished products. You'd better use it sparingly. The Great Fire Lion said, after using the fireball, the 5th move of the martial arts technique is equal to the 10th move, and the 10th move is equal to the 15th move, and so on. There is no upper limit, but the lower limit is the 5th move. Only when it is activated together with the 5th move of the martial arts technique can it achieve the effect of the 10th move of the martial arts technique. Otherwise, this fireball cannot be used before the 5th move. So powerful? Lin Yi listened to the Great Fire Lion's explanation and couldn't help but click his tongue in amazement. This Firestream God Bullet could increase a martial skills level by 5 at once. That was equivalent to being able to fight against people of a higher level. That's right. However, the number of stream divine fireballs is too low. Additionally, we need to keep 2 for ourselves in case of emergencies. Thus, we can only give you 3, benefactor, said the Big Fire Lion with a slightly regretful tone. 3 is already quite a lot. Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. He was already very lucky to have 3 of these magical items. If he had them before, he wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation when he fought against the 5 protectors. He just didn't know if that martial skill was easy to cultivate or not. As for what kind of martial skill it was, Lin Yi wasn't too worried. After all, Lin Yi had the experience of learning the Frenzy Fist and the 1,000 Changes of the Forest. He was still very confident in activating martial skills. However, Lin Yi could only activate up to the 4th form of martial skill. After advancing to mid-earth class, Lin, he had also tried to activate the fifth form, the Frenzy Fist, and the fifth form, the Thousand Changes of the Forest, but to no avail. As for the reason, Lin, he guessed that it was because he hadn't consolidated his strength as a mid-earth class. But now it was different. Lin, he had consolidated his strength as a mid-earth class. If he worked hard, he should be able to activate the fifth form of martial skill, right? This martial skill was left behind by my contracted master. There are a total of 30 forms. The Great Fire Lion was suddenly interrupted by Lin. What? 30 forms? The Great Fire Lion's words immediately shattered Lin Yi's understanding. How can there be 30 forms? Aren't all martial skills in this world divided into 20 forms, regardless of whether they're superior, inferior, or not? It was no wonder that Lin Yi was surprised. When Faubert taught him martial skills, he had told him that the first 10 forms of martial skills could be activated by an Earth class, and the last 10 forms could be activated by a Heaven class. The martial skills he saw in the Hidden Han family also stopped at 20 forms. How could there suddenly be a 30-form martial skill from the Great Fire Lion? 20 forms. That's what most cultivators know. The first 10 forms of this martial art can only be used by those in the Earth rank, while the last 10 forms can only be used by those in the Heaven rank. Apart from my contracted master who accidentally discovered this secret, the rest of the people in this sect, including the previous sect masters, only knew about the 20 forms. Big Flame Lion nodded and said, "It's precisely because my contracted master discovered the last 10 forms of this martial art that he became even more fanatical in his pursuit of the realm after the Heaven rank. Because he was at the peak of the late Heaven rank, his bottleneck was the 20th form, and he couldn't activate the 21st form no matter what. But according to his research and analysis, from the 21st form onwards, martial skills step into a whole new realm, an unprecedented height. Of course, you can just treat what I'm telling you as anecdotes. There's no need to deliberately pursue anything." I understand. Lin Yi knew that the Great Fire Lion was warning him not to bite off more than he could chew. The reason why I haven't told the successor of this martial skill and the last 10 forms of this martial skill is also because I'm afraid that they'll bite off more than they can chew, or that they'll wholeheartedly pursue a higher level of martial arts and neglect the proper business. The Great Fire Lion said, "And the reason why I'm passing this martial skill to you is because there's no successor in this sect. I'm passing this martial skill to you in the hope that you'll pass it on in the future so that it won't be lost. Good. Before I reach the peak of the late Heaven class, I won't try to study the last 10 forms." Lin Yi nodded and promised. The Great Fire Lion nodded and then took out a thread-bound ancient book from a secret compartment in a corner of the cave. He handed it to Lin Yi and said, "I suggest you practice here. If you can practice to the 5th form before going up the mountain, that's the best. But if you can't, you can go up the mountain tomorrow morning. I won't stop you." Lin Yi couldn't wait to take the thread-bound secret book. However, he was shocked speechless by the 3 big words on the cover of the secret book, because on the cover of the secret book was written, "Frenzied Fire Fist." Chapter 22-26. Did these 2 Frenzy Fiery Fist martial skills have the same name, or were they originally the same one? Thinking of this, Lin Yi quickly opened the Frenzy Fiery Fist secret manual in his hands. With just one glance, Lin Yi was dumbstruck. Same. It was actually exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the Frenzy Fiery Fist that Faubert had imparted to him. Not a single word was different. At least, the mantra for the first 10 moves was exactly the same. What was going on? Lin Yi's mind went blank, a little messy. The few scattered things suddenly came together, and it seemed like a miracle and a coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence at all. Phew. Lin Yi took a deep breath and carefully recalled what Faubert had said. He was originally the young master of an ancient sect, but because of a treasure in the sect, his sect was exterminated. And on this Wulong Haut mountain range, there used to be an ancient sect, but this ancient sect had now vanished into thin air. Was this a coincidence or an overlap? Big Fire Lion, may I ask, was the ancient sect on this Wulong Haut mountain range destroyed by someone? Lin Yi asked seriously. "Oh, why are you asking this?" A trace of vigilance flashed across the Big Fire Lion's eyes. What do you know? Nothing. I just want to confirm a fact. As Lin Yi spoke, he placed the Frenzy Fiery Fist secret manual that the big fire lion had given him aside. Suddenly, he activated his inner force mantra and began to activate the Frenzy Fiery Fist martial skill. From the first move, he smoothly used it all the way to the fourth move. Then, Lin Yi began to try activating the fifth move, but his attempt failed. However, even if he failed, Lin Yi was still pleasantly surprised. He could clearly feel the aura of the fifth style that was about to break out of his body. It was just that he was too impatient. He was eager to demonstrate his frenzied fire fist to the Great Flame Lion. He wanted to know the truth from the Great Flame Lion's mouth. In Lin Yi's mind, there was already an extremely shocking and bold conjecture. Moreover, this conjecture was gradually becoming clearer. If it could be confirmed, Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi with a complicated gaze. Frenzied Flame Fist. You actually know Frenzy Fist? The Great Fire Lion stared at Lin Yi in disbelief. What's your relationship with the sect on the mountain? That's right. You guys went to the upper vein to look for things according to the map. It must have something to do with the ancient sect in the upper vein. Why didn't I think of this? When the Great Fire Lion said this, a look of realization appeared on his face. Without the permission of Faubert and Grandma Sun, Lin Yi absolutely could not reveal their identities. Moreover, his enemy was unknown. If he exposed it, he was afraid that it would cause trouble. That's right. If the answer to my question is yes, then I have something to do with the people in this sect on the mountain. Lin Yi said, You're right. They were indeed exterminated. The Great Fire Lion sighed. So that's the case. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Then didn't you help? I'm just the contractual spiritual beast of the previous sect leader of this sect. He's gone, so I have no obligation to protect the others in this sect. The Great Fire Lion shook his head and said, In this sect, only he helped me. However, the rise and fall of a sect is a normal thing. He didn't ask me to help him protect this sect. Moreover, there were many Heaven Stage Masters at that time. I was no match for them at all. Lin Yi nodded and hesitated for a moment. There were still some things that he didn't say. Now, Lin Yi had basically confirmed 4 things. The first thing was that Faubert and Grandma Sun were the young sect leader and young madam of the ancient sect that was exterminated on the Wulong Haut Mountains. The second thing was that Sun Jingyi's parents. If Lin Yi was right, it should be Faubert and Grandma Sun. This point, when he thought of what Sun Yikai had told him about Sun Jingyi's background, he could basically confirm that Sun Jingyi was not a member of the Sun family. Her surname was changed after she returned to the Sun family. But at that time, she was very young, so she was not very clear about these things. And she had such a map on her, and the location on the map was Faubert's sect, the Wulong Haut Mountains. Then, the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Grandma Sun was basically obvious. No wonder Lin Yi saw that Grandma Sun and Sun Jingyi were very similar. At first, Lin Yi didn't think much about it. Grandma Sun was a member of the Sun family, and Sun Jingyi was also a member of the Sun family. They were relatives, and it was normal for them to look similar. But now it seemed that the third thing was another map. That map was given to him by the late-stage Heaven Stage strange old man. But he called him Li. Faubert's current name was Li Fu, but that was his alias. His real name was Fu Li. Could this Li be Faubert's master? If this was the case, then all the mysteries could be explained. He was Faubert's master, so naturally, he had half of the map. Sun Jingyi was Faubert's daughter, so she also had half of the map. This world was really small. The fourth thing, which was also the most important, was that the thing on the map was not the relic left by Sun Jingyi's parents, but the treasure that caused the destruction of this sect. Sun Jingyi's parents were not dead, so there was no relic. The strange old man also mentioned that the thing on the map was a treasure. These 4 things gave Lin Yi a headache. Should he tell Sun Jingyi the truth? Although these were all Lin Yi's inferences and guesses, it was probably not far from the truth. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Yi still planned to go back and discuss it with Faubert and Grandma Sunday. Otherwise, it was not the right time to tell Sun Jingyi. Whether it was true or not, it would inevitably affect Sun Jingyi's mood. Secondly, Lin, he still had to carefully consider this matter. The fourth style, if you work hard, the fifth style should not be a problem. Lin, he said, I think there is no problem. The big fire lion nodded. Just now, your momentum was already out, but it was impatient. As long as you practice more, you should be able to successfully activate it in a few days. A few days. Linny smiled and did not say anything more. Instead, he directly operated the internal cultivation method and began to activate the Frenzy Fist. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.